Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining this stream. Today is 2nd of November. Now it's 4 o'clock in the evening Moscow time in the afternoon. And as always, I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments. And hopefully, you will find this update informative and useful. And if so, please like the video. This might help and leave some commentary. This is, of course, first of all, traditional Sunday community chat. And after new segment, I will try my best to be informative while answering some questions or the comments. And also, it is a fundraising stream, as I call it. So, if anyone from our community was thinking to donate to this project or to help me maintain these channels and so on and work full time on it, well, I guess this is the time. This morning there was a donation from Alexander G with the commentary. Many thanks to Alexander. Of course, I will react on that comment after the news segment. There was a Alexander donated through Boosty, and for new members of our community, I will say that if they want to support this project, they can do it through PayPal or Boosty platforms. Links are on this video in description box and in the pinned commenter. Of course, a subscription on my Patreon page or page on Boosty does help greatly, absolutely. Without Patreon, without support on Patreon, this project just and Boosty, this project just would not exist, dear friends. That's how important it is that support from Patreon community. And I think donations mainly are coming from Patreon and Boosty members too. So yes, links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And also during the stream itself, you can use super chat or rant feature on Rumble to donate to this project, and same time highlight any question, any topic you want to be discussed during this stream. Of course, as I said, I will try my best to maintain. To be informative in my answer. Okay, I guess this is it for intro. Veterans of our community know perfectly well this Sunday community chats. So for the new members, maybe this information will be useful. Okay, that's been said. Let's go through some news, dear friends. And there is a lot of news. Really, I was hoping that news segment will be like shorter, so we will have more time for a chat. But there is a lot of news that I think deserves our attention, and I will start. I will start with this report, as I quite often do, from RIA Novosti about work of Russian air defense systems past night. And information is based on Russian Defense Ministry, dear friends. So last night, air defense systems on duty intercepted 164 drones that was launched by Kiev regime with assistance of NATO. I can give you specifics on that, dear friends. 39 drones out of this 164 were intercepted over the Black Sea. Another 32 were shot down over the Krasnodar Krai, 26 over the Crimea, 20 over Bryansk region, 9 each over Volgograd, Rostov and Oryol regions, 6 over Lipetsk region, 5 over Voronezh region, and 2 each over the Belgorod and Kursk. Also Tula regions. 3 drones were destroyed over the Sea of Azov. Unfortunately, not all their aerial targets seems like were neutralized, because we have reports that unfortunately foreign civilian vessels were damaged in as a result of drone strike of the Kiev regime. Foreign civilian vessels were damaged in Tuapse, by the way. That's a Russian Black Sea coast city. Let me give you some details on that. So 2 foreign civilian vessels, by the way, not an aircraft. This is technical translation that I'm using from Google, and it does make some crazy translations time to time. So 2 foreign commercial vessels were damaged during the nighttime attack of Kiev regime and NATO on the Tuapse, which is Krasnodar cry as a result of this drone attack on the port of Tuapse on the night of November 2nd, two foreign civilian vessels were damaged. One of them is a tanker, according to reports that I see, which caught fire. Also, reports are that her terminal was damaged in this city as a result of this attack. And there are also reports that in Rostov region, by the way, also southern Russia, in Rostov region, number of civilians were injured as a result of a drone strike by Kiev regime. Of course, Russian armed forces are retaliating on a regular basis, and we have this report, for example, that Russian armed forces struck Ukrainian armed forces equipment transported by mercenaries near the Odessa. So strikes were carried out in the city of Kilia in Odessa region, targeting heavy Ukrainian military equipment, including air defense systems, transported by Romanian mercenaries. Sergei Lebedev, coordinator of the Nikolaev pro-Russian underground, or pro-Russian partisans, basically, that are operating on Kyiv-controlled territory, told the RIA Novosti news agency, and I can show you on the map difference where this town is located. There were also reports about Russian strikes last night, drone strikes on portal infrastructure in Izmail city also. This is on the Danube River, by the way. Kilia and Izmail both are located on Danube River. This is Odessa region, and there, as you can see, the friends, are mainly border here goes through Danube River itself. And well, this is Izmail city, this one, and on the other side of the river, it's Romania, by the way. So it's, you can imagine how easy it is for NATO to ship equipment through river on the other side, and those weapons are already in Kyiv-controlled territory for now, Kyiv-controlled. And this is Izmail city, which was, according to some reports, were also struck by Russian drones. And when it comes to Kilia, Kilia is also, that's the Kilia, by the way, also portal city, let's say, on the Danube River. So this is the areas that were targeted by Russian armed forces past night in Odessa region, although, of course, Russian armed forces were launching drone strikes on military, logistical, and energy infrastructure of the Kiev regime in a number of other directions. Also, when it comes to developments on the battlefield, dear friends, Russian president, head of Russian general staff, a couple of days ago announced encirclement of Kiev regime's garrisons in Pokrov, Smirnograd, and in Kupiansk. Russian side even offered a temporary ceasefire to Kiev regime and its NATO backers. One of the ideas of this temporary ceasefire, behind this temporary ceasefire, was to allow journalists, not just from Russia only, but also from Kyiv-controlled territory and NATO countries or Western countries, to enter these encircled areas, document the situation there. And I think this initiative from Russian side had not just a media implication in it, right? But also humanitarian implication, because if journalists were allowed in, right? If Kiev regime and NATO would agree on this initiative of Russian side, of course, this will put more pressure on the Kiev regime and its NATO backers to basically save the lives of these encircled troops of Kiev regime, most of whom probably are forcefully mobilized and never wanted to be on the front line to begin with, right? But unfortunately, Kiev regime rejected this proposal, this initiative of Russian side about temporary truce. Of course, while saying Kiev regime rejected it, that means globalists and globalist-controlled regimes all over the West, they rejected this plan because Zelensky is operating based on the orders that he is receiving from the West. And therefore, Russian armed forces have no option but to go in and, do whatever is necessary to liberate these cities. Pokrovsk, Mirnograd, also Kupiansk, of course. Overall, according to reports, more than 10,000 troops of Kiev regime are encircled in these areas, and their lives could be saved if Kiev regime acted adequately, but those troops that are encircled are not receiving authorization to lay down arms and surrender, and therefore some units are now trying to escape from encirclement unsuccessfully, and on daily basis we are receiving reports about such attempts, and I give you some details on that in a minute. But in some cases, Kiev regime's forces actually are surrendering. And for example, videos are circulating on internet when Kiev regime's forces, for example, unit of Kiev regime's troops surrendering Sukhoy Yar area. This is most southern part of across Mirnograd agglomeration, where Kiev regime still has its presence, right? Kiev regime's troops still have their presence, and one of the units of Kiev regime did not wait for authorization of the Kiev or Zelensky or Sirsky, head of general staff there in Kiev. They contacted the Russian side and surrendered, right? Also, reports are about surrendering of Kiev regime's forces in other areas too, not just on Pokrovsk Mirnograd, but also in Kupiansk direction. But for whatever reason, maybe because they've been brainwashed, these Kiev regime's troops, and they are thinking that Russian side is not taking prisoners. Maybe they are afraid, maybe for their relatives, that if they will surrender, Kiev regime will harass and terrorize their relatives back home. Maybe for some other reasons, right? But unfortunately, we are not seeing yet, at least, hundreds and thousands of troops of Kiev regime surrendering, which is unfortunate because, why they gonna die for Kiev regime or geopolitical agenda of the Western elites? I have no freaking idea, but if that's what they want, then, Russian troops will help them with that, right? Anyway, situation in Pokrovsk Mirnograd is deteriorating for Kiev regime as time goes by. Out of desperation, Kiev regime's forces, so-called main intelligence directorate of Kiev regime, which is led by Budanov, designated by Russia as a terrorist and extremist, launch some absolutely suicidal special operation in Pokrovsk direction, and helicopters, Western or US-made Black Hawk UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters were used for this operation. 2 helicopters flew on the western outskirts of Pokrovsk. They, according to reports, special purpose units of main intelligence directorate of Kiev regime was landed by these helicopters. So the Russian side was, of course, monitoring the situation, and according to reports, entire unit of the special forces of main intelligence directorate of Kiev regime was eliminated with Russian drone attacks. There was also, I have seen some videos of that failed special operation of Kiev regime, and I did see some tracers on a screen, which means probably Russian side was targeting helicopters too, but I did not read no news about helicopters were destroyed too. Probably they suffered some damage, but they managed to lift off and go back to their base, to run away basically. But this cannot be said about this unit of this special purpose unit, which was completely obliterated. Most of the commentators, most of the military experts, while seeing that video, probably many of you have seen, isn't it, that video? I can show you some fragments of it right now in a second, but most of the commentators that I see, most of the news is indicating that this was a special purpose unit of main intelligence directorate of Kiev regime's defense ministry, which clearly, if true, clearly indicates how desperate Kiev regime is, even though they are denying that there is any encirclement. They are throwing their special forces now in this cold room. Well, that's quite a telling stuff. But I think there is a possibility. There is a possibility that this unit that was dropped by those helicopters could be either British SAS, by the way, or French special forces too. I don't understand why no one is, at least from what I see, why no one is at least exercising the possibility that this is not necessarily unit of main intelligence directorate of Kiev regime, but could be British SAS or French special forces, right? And once Russian militaries will completely liberate Kupiansk-Mirnograd agglomeration, I'm quite sure military investigators will get to that place and there will be investigation. And who knows, maybe we will learn in a couple of days' time or couple of weeks' time that indeed this unit that was dropped by these helicopters were not residents of this former Soviet Republic, Ukraine, but either British citizens or French citizens. Who knows? But I would not be surprised at all. I would not be surprised at all, because how many units this main intelligence directorate of Kiev regime might have? They cannot be deployed all over their front line, right? And just like a few days ago, there was reports about presence of the units of main intelligence directorate in the northern sectors, right? In Sumy and Kharkov region and that kind of stuff. So I don't think they have thousands of troops. This is special purpose units. There is only few units, right? In reality, training of these units takes lot of time, a lot of money, right? And that's why I think there is a high probability that it was not the main intelligence directorate, which no longer has that many units, but could be French or British special forces. Just saying, we will find out soon, isn't it? And I believe that this is the area approximately. This is the area, by the way, that I'm pointing now with the mouse, where that helicopter landed. And this is the buildings where some of the operators from that special purpose unit was neutralized right on the fields right here. But some did reach this industrial area, this building, I believe, that you can see right now on your screen. And drones flew in to this building and neutralize those operators inside that building. Overall, 11 members of this special purpose unit was neutralized. And well, we have RT's report about it too, that the Russian military has prevented an attempt by Ukraine to deploy special forces near the encircled town of Krasnoarmeysk, which is Pokrovsk, by the way, in Donbass. The defense ministry in Moscow has reported. Western media outlets, including Reuters and The Economist, reported on Friday that Kiev had used US-supplied Black Hawk helicopters to attempt to deploy elite troops to the eastern part of Krasnoarmeysk. Yet again, maybe this was a French or British special forces, man, maybe. The landing attempt was reportedly personally coordinated by the chief of Ukraine's military intelligence service, Kirill Budanov, designated as a terrorist in Russian Federation. The Russian Defense Ministry said in a statement on Saturday that their helicopter landing by main intelligence directorate, operations force group was prevented approximately 1 kilometer northwest of the outskirts of the Krasnoarmeysk or Pokrovsk in Russia's Donetsk People's Republic. All 11 elite Ukrainian troops who descended from the helicopters were destroyed, according to Defense Ministry. And well, I'm not sure if it's safe enough to show you video, dear friends. I don't know. YouTube might don't like it, right? I can show you at least beginning of the video. of that operation. So this is the helicopter, by the way, which took off after those troops landed, and the Russian troops began pounding enemy straight away, neutralizing them one by one. Some try to hide there, you know. As I said, they landed not far away, some 300 meters away from that building that I showed you just a minute ago. And some of them were neutralized in the field. Some did manage to went to this building, and they were neutralized there. More videos are circulating on internet, by the way, about this. Not just filmed with their night vision, but also afterwards. Russian drone flew in an area and documented basically everything that happened, right? All the losses of this special purpose unit. But yet again, I'm not sure this was actually main intelligence directorate unit of the Kyiv regime. It could be British SAS or French special forces. And I'm saying so because I don't think Kyiv regime special forces are that reckless any longer, right? They know what they can do and what they cannot. They have enough battle experience. But, well, French special forces and British special forces, they might think about themselves that they are, apex predators, right? And no one can stand their assault, and they are too strong to anybody, right? And that's one of the reasons why I think most likely it was Western special forces, by the way. They have no freaking idea what high intensity battle is, right? They are hyped up big time. They think about themselves as some sort of a freaking Superman or something. So maybe they went in and the Russian militaries neutralized them in matter of minutes. That's it. And there is no more special purpose unit, man. That's it. Freaking. But yet again, I mean, if Kyiv regime's troops conducted this operation, actually, I mean, they are just too freaking dumb, man, in that case. After 3 years, almost 4 years of high intensity war, if they did not learn nothing, then what the hell? But they do learn, by the way. They do learn, unfortunately, right? And I don't think Kyiv regime special forces participated in that crazy attack. But we will learn. We will learn sometime in their future. Okay, now let's continue with some other news, dear friends. This operation of former Kyiv regime was taking place on 29th of October, if reports are correct about it, although video starts circulating, video of destruction of this special purpose unit starts circulating just yesterday, right? So that's one story, right? But as I said, dear friends, even though Kyiv regime and its NATO backers are rejecting Russian claims that Kyiv regime's forces are encircled in Kupiansk and Pokrovsk-Mirnograd. Well, they are encircled, by the way, and we have this report from TASS news agency that there was 9 attempts by Kyiv regime's forces to break out of Krasnoarmeysk or Pokrovsk just in previous 24 hours, right? Russian forces repelled 9 Ukrainian attacks in the northern and the northern-western approaches to Krasnoarmeysk, which were aimed to break out of encirclement. The Russian Defense Ministry reported 9 enemy attacks in the northern and the northern-western direction aimed at the breaking out, this is quote, by the way, of encirclement have been repelled, the ministry stated. Fighters of Russian West battle group halted an attempt by Ukrainian formations to break through towards the Oskol River, south of the settlement of Kupiansk Uzlovoy. Also, the ministry added an attempt by the Ukrainian formations to break through towards the Oskol River south of the settlement of Kupiansk-Uzlavoy in the Kharkov region, with the objective to escape the encirclement has been thwarted. And during this particular attempt to escape, Kiev regime's units, they left on the battlefield 14 their members and then retreated after taking significant casualties. And this is happening regularly, by the way. Different units, I can imagine there is a big deal of chaos now that is taking place among these encircled troops of Kiev regime in Pakros, Mirnograd, and also in Kupiansk area. This is Kupiansk, by the way. There are videos that are circulating on the internet when Kiev regime's troops themselves are basically filming, and some of those videos are published by Russian side, right? After those militaries were neutralized, their phones were checked, and those videos were found. And videos are circulating when Kiev regime's troops are saying that they lost communication, they've been left alone, they don't know where enemies are, where their comrades are. They are completely lost, by the way. They have no freaking idea what the hell is going on, right? And that clearly indicates that there is a chaos, isn't it? There is no central command no more. Neither in Kupiansk area, neither in the Pokros-Mirnograd area. And now units are left on their own. In some cases, even military personnel that are scattered all over their places, right? Even in this gray area that you see right now on your screen, there might be some, underground facilities where one or two or maybe entire unit of Kiev regime's forces is hiding now, has no freaking idea what the hell is going on, where Russian troops are, where Kiev regime's troops are, don't know what to do, cannot contact their commanders, and that's the reality. That's the reality on the ground there, and some of them are making probably best decision of their lives, like this military personnel of Kiev regime that surrendered in Sukhoy Yar, for example, right? About a dozen or 2 dozen of troops of Kiev regime just laid down arms and surrendered. And they were lucky that their own troops did not kill them, right? Because this is what happens many times. One of the reasons why some militaries of Kiev regime might afraid to surrender is that there is so many factual evidences, isn't it? Videos and so on internet when Kiev regimes are these detachments, neo-Nazi formations, and they're blocking units that mainly are based on foreign mercenaries, when they are basically executing Kiev regime's troops that are trying to surrender or retreat. There is just too many stories of that, right? Too many documented cases when there is a video evidences of that, photo evidences, and so on, right? And that could be one of the reasons why some might have afraid to surrender, among other reasons, right? And these ones in Sukhoy Yar were lucky ones, right? They did manage to contact Russian side, arrange safe surrender, and they did it safely, right? So as time goes by, dear friends, of course, situation will further deteriorate for Kiev regime's forces, and in next 24 to 48 hours, in next day or two, by the way, I think Kiev regime's forces will reach that breaking point, after which total chaos will erupt, and that's going to be most dangerous times for those troops, because in panic they might do some crazy stuff, right? And instead of contacting Russian troops to surrender, they might attempt breakthrough or something, and it's going to be slaughter, right? They cannot escape. 1, 2 maybe will manage, but most will stay there forever. Yet again, it's up to personal decision at this point of those troops, right? Because if their commanders are cowards and are not contacting Russian sides to orchestrate safe surrender for their comrades, then troops themselves have to make, soldiers themselves have to make decisions, especially ones that have been forcefully mobilized and never wanted to be on a battlefield whatsoever. Let's continue with some other news, dear friends. We have this interesting news from TASS news agency that Russian armed forces are completing the clearing operation in Gnatovka and the Rog settlements near Krasnoarmeysk. So, as I said, as time goes by, situation for Kiev regime is deteriorating and deteriorating. And already, based on videos that are generated by Kiev regime's troops themselves, right? Based on those videos, we can argue that already chaos has erupted. And there is no central command. No one really knows what the hell is going on, mostly. To continue, dear friends, topic of Tomahawk missiles is making headlines again because Pentagon has officially cleared their transfer of long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles to Kyiv regime, leaving the final call to President Trump. The missiles are capable of striking targets up to 1,000 miles away, could give Kiev the ability to hit deeper inside Russia, including energy and oil facilities. Trump reportedly backed away from the deal after call with Putin, who warned that such weapons could reach Moscow and St. Petersburg. This is the Deep Geopolitics' report, by the way. That's where I took this news, and I don't think Russian president really talked to Trump about Moscow and St. Petersburg. Russian president probably said that you send Tomahawk missiles, we are at war at that point, right? Maybe that's what Russian president said. I don't think president distinguishes, it's okay to strike. I don't think Russian president ever said or thinks in a way that, well, it's okay to strike borderline cities or any city, but not Moscow and St. Petersburg. No, it does not work that way, right? No matter where, in which direction this missile is going to be used, because potentially they can be tipped with a nuclear weapon. That's the main concern, right? Because missiles themselves, those Tomahawks, by the way, are no wonder weapon. The Russian militaries will destroy them in a very same way as they are destroying British Storm Shadows or French Scalp EGs, right? Or US-made ATACMS, for example, right? If anybody thinks that these Tomahawks are some sort of a wonder weapon, then all of them are mistaken, by the way. This is just a freaking cruise missile, right? Nothing extraordinary. It's just a freaking missile. It's not even a hypersonic or something. It's not even it's not even supersonic. It's a subsonic, right? It's nothing extraordinary. Just because Iraqis were unable to intercept these missiles, or US was bombing Afghanistan quite effectively, or whichever other country with these missiles, does not mean that those missiles posing some extra, some unbelievable threat to Russia. No, man, Russian air defense systems will deal with their Tomahawks as easy as they do with their Storm Shadows, right? Most of them will be destroyed. One or two might actually manage to bypass air defense systems if air defense systems are overwhelmed. But difference between Tomahawk and Storm Shadow, for example, is that Storm Shadows are not nuclear capable. Tomahawks are. And they're going to give us guarantees that those missiles, US would not use this proxy war to obliterate Moscow, for example, with a nuclear strike. Some might say, this is absurd. Washington would never, ever even think about attacking Moscow with a nuke. But, are you sure? Are you sure that US is led by adequate people? I'm not sure about it, right? And Russian leadership is not sure about it too. So, Tomahawk... otherwise, by the way, US only has 4,000, according to reports, US only has 4,000 Tomahawks, right? 4,100, 4,200 or something like that. Even if all 4,000 Tomahawks are launched, even if all 4,000 Tomahawks are being deployed against Russia, and launch 100 Tomahawks every day, like, or 200 or 300. If you think those 4,000 Tomahawks will destroy Russian military-industrial complex or Russian energy sector or any sector, it's a mistake. They cannot, man. They can cause some harm, 100%. No one doubts that, right? But they cannot destroy no Russian industry, right? Especially if you keep in mind that most of these missiles will be intercepted, and from every 100, in the maximum, like 1 or 2, maybe 5, will manage to bypass air defenses, right? And to take out, for example, Russian factory in military industrial complex that stretches for kilometers and kilometers and kilometers. I mean, you're gonna need not just 1 or 2 or 100, but you're gonna need 1,000 Tomahawks found a way to strike, or nuclear weapon. Russian military industrial complex, or Soviet military industrial complex, let's say, was built that way, that only nuke can take it out. That's it, man. Right? So don't believe in this propaganda of the West that Tomahawks are some sort of a wonder weapon, and what Russia gonna do if Tomahawks are deployed? What Russia gonna do? Well, Russia will destroy them in the very same way as Russia is destroying ATACMS, Storm Shadow, Scalp PGs, and whatever NATO gonna throw at us. That's it. But nuke's nuclear capability of Tomahawk is of course changes the calculus, and that's why I think Russian president spoke with Trump about the matter. But anyways, now basically Trump has all the clearances he needs, probably, for all the formalities being done, and let's see what Trump gonna do about it. They only have like 6 Typhoon missiles or something. 6 Typhoon launchers, by the way. Tomahawk is a naval cruise missile, isn't it? And the US has, according to reports, only 6 freaking ground launchers. And what they're gonna do? They're gonna give regime, or formally to give regime, but of course in reality it will be US military personnel that will use it, right? So they're gonna deploy all 6 of those launchers, and how many days those launchers gonna last on the battlefield? Day or 2, 5, and that's it, right? So meanwhile, French company Dassault Aviation reportedly expressed readiness to supply Rafale fighter jets to Kyiv regime's air force. According to French media, negotiations are already underway. La Parisienne, for example, claims that their delivery of aircraft would be financed by NATO's Pearl assistance program. And well, like I said, NATO is all in, isn't it? NATO is all in this proxy war, and they will use whatever capabilities they have to prolong this proxy war as much as they can, even if globalists and globalist puppets in governments of Western world are realizing by now that basically they lost this war. But to say it openly, publicly, I mean, they have no guts to do it, right? They cannot say the truth to themselves yet. And probably this will continue until these crazies that are in charge of the Western world will go ahead with next phase of escalation against Russia. And then Moscow will just have no option but to strike back, and strike back with such a force and scale that whole Western world will be shocked, by the way, probably entire world, right? And after that, I think Western elites will finally come to their senses and will begin de-escalating, because they are not suicidal. They are not suicidal, by the way. But yes, we might see Rafale fighter jets also being deployed against Russia. Okay. Russian fighter jets, Russian air defense systems will destroy anything, as I said, anything that West can throw at us. So Rafale, Saab, F-16, Mirage, we don't give a damn, and we will take out everything, right? And that's what Russian air defenses and Russian fighter pilots are doing regularly, by the way. How many F-16s already were neutralized? And Mirage planes, for example. How many Soviet era MiG-29s and Su-27s that Kiev regime had, and also Su-24s? A lot, right? Well, this is not all when it comes to weapons deliveries to Kiev regime. We have this report, for example, that Patriot or two Patriot batteries, by the way, that was promised to Kiev regime and financed by Denmark, Norway, and Lithuania. I wonder what Lithuania chipped in, like $5 or something. So these two Patriot batteries might arrive in on Kiev control territory in next several days, according to reports. Let's see what is going to happen, but I guess Russian intelligence will track this development, and hopefully those Patriot batteries will be eliminated shortly after their deployment on the Kiev controlled areas. And right now I received there was a okay. Anya just sent me information about her donations on PayPal. She's at work, by the way, so I'm kind of alone on my own to run this live stream now. And so yes, what else? I will of course highlight. By the way, there was a one donation, and all member of community did not want it to be named, so I would not name. But there was donation of $12, and also there was donation of $5 on PayPal. By the way, so I will highlight all this stuff after the news segment. This is fundraising stream. I will remind you, dear friends, that this is fundraise Sunday community chat and fundraising stream. RIA Novosti, meanwhile, is reporting that West accuses Zelensky's regime of attacking EU countries. I don't know about West, but some Western media outlets do accuse Zelensky's regime of attacking EU and NATO member states. Ukraine might be responsible for explosions and fires at oil refineries in Hungary and Romania. The American conservative reported Hungarian media have expressed concerns that Ukraine was the perpetrator of attacks on their two European countries. Many analysts have also concluded that Ukraine could be the source of attacks, the article said. And it's not just our media, by the way, reports, not just some commentators on alternative media or some military experts or analysts, but Orban himself, by the way, Prime Minister of Hungary, after he was briefed by Hungary's security services, said that it is a probability that Kiev regime was not. He did not say Kiev regime. He said that it was outside impact on the refinery. That could be the case, right? And let's wait and see what investigators gonna say. I remind you, dear friends, that a couple of weeks ago, on the same day, it was the 20th of October, if I remember correctly, it was the 20th of October, and oil refinery in Romania and Hungary were experiencing some emergencies, right? There was an explosion, there was a fire and stuff, and I don't know about other commentators, but I said it straight away. Most likely, this is not a random some coincidence that are in two countries, refineries that are working with the Russian oil were experiencing emergencies. Most likely, this was an attack orchestrated by London, British Secret Services, and they use the regime, their proxy, to conduct these attacks. And no, more and more people now are on the same page. Not surprisingly, and this is just the beginning, by the way. Ukrainian terrorism, Europe gonna learn what Ukrainian terrorism is. Once this conflict will end, once Russia will liberate all Russian historical land, and once Russian troops will reach Western Ukraine, border of the Western Ukraine, I think active phase of military operations will cease on then. And well, Poland, Hungary, Romania, they will probably enter the Western Ukraine, and they will find out. They will find out hard way how it is to fight Ukrainian Nazis, right? Very same Nazis that Romania and Poland, for example, were arming and the training. Hungary is a different story, but well, Hungary is already experiencing Ukrainian terrorism, so things will only get worse from now on, right? It is what it is, man. Also, interesting news, I think, that Russian aerospace forces received new batch of Su-35S fighter jets. Good news for Russia. And well, by the way, Russian military industrial complex is working 24/7, and they're almost on daily basis. Media is reporting about deliveries of new batches of ground military equipment, tanks, armored personnel carriers, infantry fighting vehicles, and so on, or airplanes, helicopters, and so on. 24/7 worker. Russian military industry is doing some miracle, by the way. And I think after this high intensity or military phase of this confrontation we'll see is, I think military industrial complex will still be as busy as it is right now because of the foreign orders. All this equipment is being tested in most severe conditions, right? And of course, demand on Russian military equipment gonna skyrocket. Right now, I can understand that military industrial complex here in Russia is mainly focused on Russian army orders, understandably so. Although still, military industrial complex is managing to honor contracts that they have with the foreign customers, and their weapons deliveries are happening, right? Weapons exports still are ongoing, but after high intensity conflict will end, by the way. Of course, Russian demand on Russian weapons will be just unbelievable, tremendous, right? Drones, airplanes, helicopters, everything, but also, dear friends, when it comes to weapons, Russia launched a new nuclear submarine, Khabarovsk, and this is a specific, very specific nuclear sub. This is a carrier of new generation underwater nuclear device, Poseidon. As we know its name, and I guess this is big step for Russian Navy. This is big step when submarine that was specifically built to carry Poseidon nuclear tipped or nuclear powered torpedoes or underwater autonomous vehicles is entering the service. So big deal there. I guess Pentagon and also British militaries or French militaries, others. I guess they are paying close attention to this development because these Poseidons, I mean, it's an unbelievable weapon. It's an unbelievable weapon. One Poseidon is enough to make New York uninhabited for another 1,000 years, for next 1,000 years. Literally uninhabited, because the reports are that in a nuclear device, and this is all speculations from on open sources. Very few people really know this Poseidon and what it's capable of, but reports are that Poseidon will carry up to 100 megaton warhead, and And also reports are that in the building of this warhead, cobalt was used. And cobalt intensifies radioactivity in thousands of times compared to ordinary thermonuclear weapon. Ordinary thermonuclear weapon is, once it detonates, most of their radioactive isotopes, half-life of most of the radioactive isotopes are very short, relatively short, right? And after 10, 15, 20 years, those places where those nukes explosion, thermonuclear I'm talking about, by the way, atomic explosion, which is based on fission, is a different. It's also very radioactive, and atomic bombs are leaving trace for decades on end, centuries even. Some isotopes will stay even thousands of years. But thermonuclear is a different. Thermonuclear warheads are based on a fusion reaction. That's a process, physical process that is happening in the sun, right? When two atoms are fused and there are tremendous energy to create helium, for example, right? Two hydrogen atoms are fusing in the sun, right? And creating helium. And that's a fusion reaction, and in thermonuclear weapons, that's what is used, right? Fusion of the atoms. And but according to reports in open sources, this Poseidon is using warhead in which cobalt is used, especially to make it extremely radioactive. And if true, by the way, well, explosion of such a warhead of 100 megaton will, of course, create, I don't know, 100-meter wave, 200-meter wave. Once it's detonated not far away from the coastal line, it has to be shallow waters where explosion will happen. It has to be like 200-300 meters, maximum 500 meters depth, right? Because beyond that, pressure is just too high to have an impact, right? If you detonate 100 megaton in like 2 kilometers deep or 3 kilometers deep, I don't think it will create tsunami. I don't think so. But 500 meters, whole different story. You might create 100 meters tsunami. Once this energy will begin moving particles of the water, right, that are then transferring the energy one to another. And so, yes, if these reports are true, then once this warhead will explode, that wave will be extremely radioactive, and whatever areas it will flood, of course, going to be contaminated for 1,000 years. That's why I'm saying one such a device can make New York, for example, uninhabitable for next 1,000 years. So yeah, I guess big attention is being paid to these developments by Western militaries. And yet again, let's hope Russia will never ever be in a situation when these weapons have to be deployed. Either Poseidon or Burevestnik, also another nuclear-powered weapon, but Burevestnik is a cruise missile. There is many others, right? And on this topic of new weapon systems, Belarus has updated its nuclear arsenal. It's not really Belarusian nuclear weapons. It's Russian nuclear weapons that are stationed in Belarus. But President of the Republic, Alexander Lukashenko, stated, and this is quote, "We have exchanged our nuclear weapons once again, just so you know. We took them to Russia and brought in the latest ones. They have been refurbished. It is an expensive thing to maintain them. The Russians are helping," Lukashenko said. And yet again, it might sound as if these nukes in Belarus are Belarusian nukes. This is not the case. It's Russian nukes stationed in Belarus, and the decision to use them is on Moscow, not on Minsk. So let's make no mistakes there. Yes, these nukes are deployed to protect Belarus 100%. But decision to launch any vehicle tipped with a nuclear weapon is on Moscow and Moscow only. That's how it is. But news itself is important, because well, Russia updated its nuclear arsenal in Belarus. That's what Lukashenko quite effectively is saying there, and this is also something that I guess Western so-called politicians or Western militaries, so-called media will pay attention to, or should pay attention anyways, right? Also, the friends, Anya just sent me a message that there was also a donation, another one through PayPal, and the member of community don't want mentioning. So I will just highlight numbers then, numbers of donations itself. As you know, dear friends, task for these fundraisings are to reach $200, so that next week I will work little less stressed. We only twice reach this mark, $200, but maybe we will do today. Anyways, I'm grateful to everyone, of course, who is donating, and so yes, before I continue, dear friends, let me just say a few words about this fundraising stuff. If you want to support, you can do it through several means. All the links are on this video description box and in the pinned comment. PayPal, Boosty. You can subscribe to my Patreon page or page on Boosty. That will be, of course, a great support too. And during the live stream, you can use a super chat feature on Rumble. You can use super chat feature on Rumble, where there was I'm gonna make it screen right now, because there was donation from Daniela Modos, and I myself will make this screenshot to make sure that I'm not gonna miss it. Thanks God I checked right now. Rumble, by the way. It's a Sunday community chat, dear friends, so my apologies if I'm less concentrated. Hopefully it's okay. Saturday, Sunday live streams always are much more casual than workday streams. And so, okay, I made this screen. And so, yes, all the links, dear friends, are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. PayPal, Boosty, Patreon, and also my Rumble channels. If you are watching on YouTube and want to find my Rumble channel, links are under this video in description box. And so, yes, let's continue, isn't it? Let's continue with some other news. And next is Venezuela. Dear friends, we have to talk about Venezuela because things are escalating there big time. And maybe already for tomorrow, world will wake up to face yet another war that US has launched. Meanwhile, we have this report that Pentagon conducted yet another strike under the orders of Trump, or authorization from the Trump. Another strike on a boat in the Caribbean. Information was confirmed by Pat Hegseth himself, Secretary of War, as he is called nowadays. Yet again, no evidences, no due process, no nothing that will give a legal authority either through Trump or to Pentagon to execute these strikes, to execute the people, by the way, on those boats. Yet again, it's up to you. Do you believe Pentagon that all these people that they killed, number is up to 50 now, isn't it? It's up to you if you believe that all of them were criminals or not. I don't think all of them were criminals, and even if some of them were criminals, where is the due process? Who gave Trump, president of U.S., authority to kill people just because they think those people are criminals? Trump has no such authority. U.S. Constitution does not give U.S. president authority to kill people left and right just because he wants to. But yet again, level of degeneration of political class in U.S. and also level of inaction on part of U.S. society is such that this kind of crime is happening on daily basis now, right? When U.S. is executing people without any due process, these are not combatants, right? This U.S. never declared war on Venezuela even, right? So it is what it is. Level of degeneration is such that they are doing it on daily basis, and it seems like no one is able to stop them. And if now they are killing these fishermen and whomever on those boats, soon they're gonna start killing people on the ground too, because Miami Herald, by the way, day before yesterday, that was, and dear friends, I reported about this news and some others on Friday evening on my Patreon and Boosty pages. I did an update there. So for members, this might not come as a news, but for other members, maybe. So Miami Herald on Friday, and also New York Times, by the way, reported about imminent attack on Venezuela. So New York Post, for example, has this headline: U.S. prepared to strike Venezuelan military bases as Trump ramps up pressure on dictator Maduro. I mean, New York Post, who tell you, is this even a journalistic, I don't know, man. This is not journalism when media outlet is in headlines even, not even in a text, by the way, in headline itself, is justifying military action in a way, while designating Maduro as a dictator, as something negative, right? This is not a job for a journalist, and that's why I'm saying in Western MSM there is no more journalists left, true journalists, right? Who said that Maduro is a dictator? U.S. president, and we should believe in that? I don't believe that Maduro is a dictator. I just don't believe in that. And I don't believe Chavez was a dictator. He was elected by people and he was loved by people big time. And Maduro is a president and is supported by people just because, I think, only because, maybe even, Chavez chose him to lead the country, right? And Chavez was one of the most popular politicians all over the Latin America, not just in Venezuela. And he was called dictator too, right? Although he was extremely popular. So yes, Western so-called MSM, and also Miami Herald come up with the article: U.S. are poised to strike military targets in Venezuela in escalation against Maduro regime. And even though Trump denied these claims, and a number of other officials in Washington denied these claims, I think we all understand that strike on Venezuela is imminent. It's only a matter of time, and well, U.S. is increasing its military presence literally on daily basis in the region. And for example, RT come up with this article, this news, that U.S. amasses 16,000 troops off Venezuelan coast. This article here is based on information from Washington Post. So the U.S. is deploying a massive military contingent to an area near Venezuela, including 10,000 soldiers and 6,000 sailors. The Washington Post has reported their move may indicate plans to expand the regional operations. U.S. has repeatedly accused Venezuela of aiding narco terrorists and has imposed sweeping sanctions on the country. And dear friends, when it comes to Venezuela's role in narco trafficking, according to independent sources, from all the cocaine or all the drugs that are reaching US, maximum percentage that can be directly or indirectly related to Venezuela is a 3%. 3% max. What might be related directly or indirectly to Venezuela. Rest is entering US from other countries. That has nothing to do with Venezuela whatsoever. Just to keep in mind that this is a pure bias on part of Washington, on part of Pentagon. This is not about drugs. This is about oil and rare earth minerals that Venezuela is rich. That's it, right? US has repeatedly accused Venezuela of aiding narco-terrorists. The American military has also attacked about a dozen vessels since September, claiming they were used by drug smugglers. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has denied the allegations, accusing Washington of fabricating a new war aimed at their continued military buildup. According to Washington Post, 8 US Navy warships, special operations vessel, and their nuclear-powered attack submarine are already in the Caribbean. The aircraft carrier USS Gerald Ford, expected to arrive next week, will reportedly bring with it more military vessels, with a total of over 4,000 military personnel. Well, US aircraft strike groups and aircraft carriers, of course, never move around alone. They are always escorted at least by 3 to 5 warships, destroyers, right? Arleigh class destroyers, maybe Ticonderoga or whatever the name is, older version, all the destroyers, or most likely it's Arleigh class. And also either 1 or 2 submarines always are following aircraft carriers, right? So overall number of US warships, once this aircraft carrier arrives, overall number will be like 2 dozen. 2 dozen. And all those vessels, according to reports that I have seen, by the way, all those vessels simultaneously can launch 300 to 500 missiles to strike Venezuela. Just on missiles from warships. On top of that, aircraft carrier will have up to 70, potentially more FA-18s on board, right? Maybe F-35s. I don't know what type of planes or number of planes that are this US aircraft carrier, this one, Gerald Ford has, like, must be mixed, right? FA-18s, most will be FA-18s, and they can be dozen or something like that, or F-35s. In any case, about 70 strike planes. And we should also keep in mind that Puerto Rico is like 400 miles away only from Venezuela. So Puerto Rico can be used as a big airfield, right? Military base that will actively play active role in terms of logistics and also strikes on Venezuela. Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, right? It's a U.S. protectorate, so it's a U.S. territory, basically. So big buildup, significant buildup of military capabilities. Only a matter of time when U.S. will go ahead and strike on Venezuela. Same time, dear friends, we should keep in mind that U.S. political leadership has long dreamed about regime change in Cuba, isn't it? And because, according to reports, this assault on Venezuela is all this agenda is led by Marco Rubio, who is from Cuba originally, right? His parents are from Cuba. I don't know. He's born in U.S. He's born in U.S., right? Because he has some presidential ambitions, and naturalized citizens cannot be president. So he was born in U.S., but his parents are from Cuba, right? And there are many former Cubans that flee to U.S., especially ones that were close to Batista regime. Many of them were very rich, by the way, right? They were robbing Cuban people day in, day out, right? And they escaped with a lot of money. They built businesses in US with this stolen money from people of Cuba, right? And they are for decades and decades financing Republican Party and pushing this narrative of regime change in Cuba. And Marco Rubio now, they have their man in U.S. leadership, isn't it? They have a Marco Rubio now in place as a national security advisor to Trump and also as a head of State Department. One of the most powerful persons in U.S. at this point, formally speaking, by his titles, right? And because Marco Rubio is playing this big role, it well might be that all this build-up of military capabilities is not just against Venezuela, but actually against Cuba. Maybe U.S. will turn those vessels on Cuba like tomorrow or day after. Maybe they will strike Cuba and it's going to be like a surprise attack or something. Or maybe they will attack Venezuela first. They will do regime changing or try at least on Colombia, and maybe then they will attack Cuba. But definitely U.S. is on a march now, seems like, to reconquer all the former colonies. Seems like. And let's see, by the way, I don't think U.S. is in a position to succeed in that, right? If people of those countries will fight, I don't think U.S. can succeed in this operation. Also, interesting report that as U.S. ramp up pressure, Venezuela pleads with Moscow for help. The president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, aimed their buildup of American forces in the Caribbean region, has applied to Russia for the supply of missiles, radars, and modernized aircraft, reports the Washington Post after reviewing confidential documents. The corresponding letter was sent to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Their publication claims, okay, I don't think we can believe anything that comes out from Western MSM, WAPO, or whichever else, but I can see Venezuelan leadership is asking Moscow for assistance. Also, Washington Post is reporting that Caracas asked for help Iran and China too. Okay, I can understand that. And Venezuela already has weapons from Russia, weapons from Iran, speedboats, for example, by the way. Iranian speedboats, missile-armed speedboats, and maybe they have some weapons from China too. And if we keep in mind that, according to reports, several planes already landed in Venezuela, planes that were linked with the Wagner PMC before, at least, right? And I have this report, for example, dear friends, exactly on that Russian Il-76 military transport aircraft operated by Aviacon Zitotrans has landed in Venezuela. Aviacon Zitotrans was sanctioned by the US in January 2023 for providing cargo services allegedly linked to Wagner Group and Russia's defense industry. And this is not the first such a flight to Caracas. On October 26, another Il-76 arrived in Venezuela on an undisclosed mission. So maybe Venezuela asked for help, and maybe they are receiving this help already from Russia, at least. And I don't know about modernized planes. I don't think this is rational to send to Venezuela planes, because no matter how many planes you're going to send to Venezuela, they're not going to be able to withstand U.S. assault, right? Because U.S. can deploy like 5 times more planes, 10 times more planes, right? So transfer of planes to Venezuela is not really rational, in my personal opinion. It will be better if Venezuela will hide its own planes right now. Hopefully, they already did hide not just F-16s that they still have operational ones, but also Russian Su-30s. Hopefully, they did hide it somewhere in the freaking jungle or whatever. Those planes are very tough and they can take off from any road. Just give them any straight line, those planes will take off, right? Even from field, by the way. So it will be better if Venezuela will use cleverly those planes, because once US will attack, Su-30s can be effectively deployed. Actually, it might be a suicidal mission for some of the Su-30s, but they definitely can launch anti-ship missiles right before intercepted. Some of them might even be lucky and manage to avoid interception and flight back to hidden base somewhere in the jungles of Venezuela. Yet again, we only did the strip, like several 100-meter strip, and that's it, right? Those planes will take off and land. And I guess in vastness of Venezuelan jungle somewhere, they should already have prepared their areas, right, for this particular situation. But anyways, planes are one story. I don't think Russia will give them planes, or China or Iran, by the way. Iran is in no position to even consider such a thing. But what Russia can give the Venezuela, and probably, or maybe something already being done, is anti-ship missiles. It's anti-ship missiles, long-range anti-ship missiles, Bastion or whatever else. And who knows if maybe Wagnerites will operate with these missiles, because I'm not sure how professional Venezuelan militaries are. I just don't have information about it. Most likely there are some special forces that have high level of training and are very capable, but I don't know about most of the Venezuelan army. So maybe Wagnerites will deploy and operate with their long range anti-ship missiles. Also, they need probably a lot of anti-tank weapon systems, guided weapon systems, to do some ambushes on the ground troops if and when US will send ground forces. I mean, there is a lot of things that Russia can actually do, China also, and Iran too, to help Venezuelan people fight back. Question is, will Venezuelan people fight? That's the only question I have personally. Because if people are going to fight, US not going to be able to defeat them, man. No way, right? US might take out Maduro, US might take out political and military leadership, current political and military leadership of Venezuela, but if people are going to fight, US not going to be able to defeat them. Eventually, people will win. I'm quite sure about it. And if you are interested, what is Russian position, official position around all this situation in the Caribbean? Well, Russia strongly condemns U.S. military provocations in the Caribbean. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova stated, under pretext of combating drug trafficking, in reality, there is something else is going on. Moscow supports Venezuela defending its sovereignty, and Maria Zakharova actually come up with some massive article, kind of, right? I read it, by the way, and it was big post, big statement, and she went into detailed analysis of the current situation, sort of, and she make it quite clear that all this talk about Venezuela and drugs and stuff is just misinformation of the public, attempt to divert attention, while in reality, US is of course doing something else. And when it comes to drug issue, first of all, US have to seek resolution on its territory, in its medical system, when majority of people being prescribed with all sorts of painkillers, right, including painkillers that are based on opioids. US system of healthcare is built through lobbyists, and all the laws and stuff is so corrupt that people from young age being put on those medicines, right? And pharmaceutical companies are getting filthy rich as a result of it. But also, consequence of that is that people cannot get rid of these drug addiction. And if at some point they are struggling to have a prescription or something, they are turning to the streets and buying drugs there. Our friends from US can describe the situation better, of course, right? But Maria Zakharova went through all the points, by the way, that actually related to drug crisis in the US. And Venezuela has nothing to do with it, literally nothing to do with it. It's all about US and the corrupt system on which this country is based right now. Corrupt economical system, corrupt healthcare system, corrupt political system. Everything is corrupt to the core in US, right? And that's the issue. And if people of America, people of US wants to deal with the situation, they should take care of their own country, right? Not attack others. So yes, that's the Moscow's official position. Russia strongly condemns US military provocations and is in full support of sovereignty of Venezuela and its right to defend itself. And so yes, let's see what's going to happen. But yeah, the world is getting closer and closer to yet another war that US is going to start this time in the Caribbean, and not just Venezuela, but Colombia, Cuba, and potentially even Brazil, by the way, and some other countries, Nicaragua and so on, should get ready for potential hostility from the US. Meanwhile, Trump escalates now with Nigeria too. Well, he stated that if Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria, and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing those horrible atrocities. I am hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be faster, vicious, and sweet. Just like the terrorist attack our cherished Christians, warning the Nigerian government better move fast. That's what Trump wrote on his Truth Social. And you know what? There is a clearly big problem with safety of Christians in Nigeria. No doubts about that. These Islamic terrorists are on regular basis attacking churches, attacking Christians. Nigerian Christians need protection. And Nigerian government definitely has to do more to protect Christians there. Most of their people in Nigeria are Muslims. Minority is a Christian. And the rights of this minority have to be protected 100%. And in this regard, I can understand why very many people worldwide, especially among Christians, will support this angry statement of Trump. On the other hand, question is rising: is he honest, by the way? Is he really cares about Christians and Christians' rights and safety? He is about to start war with Venezuela, and last time I checked, Venezuela, majority of people of Venezuela are Christians. And he personally authorized, without any legal basis execution of about 40 people, more than 40 at this point, on those boats. There is a high probability that most of those people were also Christians. And what about Ukrainian crisis? What about proxy war that West is waging against Russia, being led by US? Majority of people on Kiev-controlled territory and in Russia are Christians, vast majority. So, and somehow Trump has no issue with that, when Christians are killing each other. And the US is supporting this a big time, right? So, and he personally, he allocated already under his leadership, US already transferred $2.5 to $4 billion of weapons to Kiev regime. Correct? He authorized the transfer of 3,000 plus cruise missiles to this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky. Correct? It was Trump that was threatening Russia with those Tomahawk missiles. No one was scared here in Russia, by the way, but he was trying to threaten Russia. And US is still leading this charge against Russia. So last time I checked, I don't know, most of us here in Russia are Christians, Orthodox Christians, right? So is Trump really honest while saying that, well, rights of Christians are not protected in Nigeria and government have to do something there? I don't think he is honest. And maybe Nigeria's oil riches have something to do with this newly found interest of Trump's administration towards Nigeria. Maybe oil has something to do with it. And Nigeria is one of the richest countries in Africa, in African continent, when it comes to oil and many other resources, natural resources, oil, gold, rare earth, you name it. Maybe that's what is happening. And maybe US is not happy that China is gaining popularity all over Africa, including in Nigeria. Maybe that's what is happening. And maybe those Islamic terrorists that are attacking Christians in Nigeria are operating under the umbrella of CIA to create for US leadership grounds on which they will begin operating against Nigeria. Do you really be surprised to learn that these terrorist groups, Boko Haram and others, there is a lot of them, most of which is affiliated with Al-Qaeda. Do you be surprised to learn that those groups were actually run by CIA, most of them, and by CIA operatives? I wouldn't be surprised at all, because Al-Qaeda was created by US Secret Services together with British Secret Services, right? And the Secret Services of some Gulf states with their active participation. ISIS was created by them too. And why wouldn't they create all the other groups in different regions of this world? Something to think about. Because I don't believe even for a second that Trump actually cares about Nigerian Christians or Christians in general. Meanwhile, dear friends, you might find this report interesting that retired US Army Major General Randy Manner stated that Donald Trump is incompetent and does not understand that the US lacks their technical capability to conduct nuclear tests, as he demanded or ordered just a few days ago, and that preparations for them will take years. We have a quote here, and this general, retired general, was giving an interview to CNN, by the way, you can see on your screen. So this morning I was at the Fort Belvoir Medical Hospital for an appointment and was struck by how many young service members, soldiers, pilots, their families, and their honestly babies and the small children are waiting to see doctors because doctors, nurses, and staff are on forced leave due to government shutdown. And now the president announced the launch of a nuclear testing program that could cost hundreds of millions of dollars. I was at those Nevada test sites where tests were conducted decades ago. And by the way, the Department of Energy, not the Department of Defense, is responsible for conducting nuclear tests, which is correct, by the way, which is true. It's the Department of Energy in US that was always overseeing these nuclear tests. Whenever there was nuclear tests conducted by US, right? Not Defense Department. And I'm not sure Trump knows about it. He ordered Pat Hexet, correct, to do testing or something, but he should speak about it with the Secretary of Energy. But anyways, when it comes to these testings, I guess this general is correct, and hundreds of millions of dollars will be wasted by U.S. militaries and energy department. For what exactly? To demonstrate to Russia and China that U.S. has nuclear weapons that are actually working. You know what? I have surprise for Trump. Breaking news for Trump. We know that U.S. has in its inventory nuclear weapons that actually work, and none of us have any doubts about it, right? And maybe there is no really need to do actual tests and detonate those nukes and poison their, I don't know, ground and atmosphere on top of all the poisons that humanity is doing. Maybe there is no need for that. And maybe there is no need to instigate another nuclear arms race, this time between China and the US, because Russia is not going to be part of it. Russian leadership was very clear on many occasions that Russia is not interested in no nuclear arms race or no in arms race in general, right? We are out of that stuff. But maybe if US wants to do some Cold War era type arms race with China, good luck, man. Good luck. I don't think US is going to be able to beat the China. I don't think so. So I don't know. Let's see. This topic is, of course, extremely dangerous one, these nuclear tests. But as I said in my previous updates, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Trump was just misunderstood the reports that he was given that Russia tested the nuclear powered cruise missile and the nuclear powered underwater missile is Burevestnik, of course, and this underwater autonomous vehicle is Poseidon, right? And when Trump was briefed about it, maybe he thought that Russia was conducting nuclear tests or something, and that's why he said the US will do nuclear tests, because it makes no sense, right? American scientists, Russian scientists, Chinese scientists are doing these nuclear tests on a regular basis, but they are doing these tests on their supercomputers, right? They don't need actual physical nuclear test because they do understand the processes, physical processes, well enough, right, to calculate everything they need without actually detonating nuclear warhead. So maybe in a day or two, U.S. president will say, you know what, I made decision to postpone nuclear tests because, because that would be better, or something like that, because it's senseless. It's really senseless to do nuclear tests. Also, dear friends, well, there was a tragedy in UK. Probably you have heard about this news. There was a tragedy in UK on a train when multiple people were stabbed near Cambridge in central England yesterday. Two suspects have been arrested. 9 people out of 10 are fighting for their lives. They received some serious injuries, and well, hopefully they will all recover. But this is crazy, man. Europe is descending. Europe and America also, by the way, are descending into some madness. I don't know what's going on there, but US in US killings are just normal stuff nowadays. When people are killing each other every day, God knows how many dozens of people are being killed in US. In Chicago alone, every freaking week, dozens of people being injured with their gunshots, by the way, and numerous people are killed. In UK, stabbing is it's everyday stuff now. Also in continental part of European part of this Eurasian continent, something has to be done about it, man. Something has to be done about it, because this is not normal. These Western countries are just too dangerous for everybody, right? For its own citizens, for everyone else. This is not normal. This is not normal, and no wonder many experts are saying that Western world is on the edge of civil war. Many countries in the Western world, UK included. And maybe civil war has already started even in some ways. Who knows, man? But this is not normal. It's crazy. Also, interesting news that Armenia will buy Su-30 fighters, Russian Su-30 fighters, but not from Russia. So Indian media reported that Armenia is finalizing a deal with the Indian company Hindustan Aeronautics Limited to acquire Su-30 MKIs. The agreement, and India is producing these planes, by the way, under the Russian license. Russia is also involved in this business with Hindustan Aeronautics, and will have some profits, I guess, from this sale. So agreement currently is in advanced negotiation stage. Is seen as a response to Azerbaijan's recent purchase of 40 JF-17C Block 3 fighters of Pakistani manufacture. And JF-17s are, of course, Chinese planes that been produced in Pakistan under the Chinese license, right? A deal is expected to be worth between $2.5 and $3 billion, with 8 to 12 aircrafts to be delivered. According to publication, deliveries will begin in 2027 and conclude in 2029. The Su-30s will be equipped with the Indian radars and armaments as part of a deal. Currently, Armenia has 4 Russian-made Su-30 SMs. So good news for Indian Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, also for Russian United Aerospace Consortium, or whatever the name is of Russian corporation that produces all the planes. Объединенная строительная корпорация, United Aeronautic Corporation. How is it in English? Anyways, good news for Russian side, good news for Indian side, and I will say good news for Armenia too. If this former Soviet Republic has budget to purchase planes for $3 billion, well, good, great. And of course, Su-30s are much more capable than JF-17s, by the way. Yet again, it all comes down to pilot and professionalism, right? Because all modern planes are very capable. And pilots are deciding. It's come to professionalism and experience of pilots. RT is also reporting that Trump brushes off Hungarian Prime Minister's plea. US President Donald Trump has dismissed the Prime Minister Viktor Orban's request to expand Hungary from sanctions on Russian oil, which is bad news for Budapest. But yes, seems like Western elites are determined to completely cut off Europe from Russian energy, and the U.S. political class is very much determined to put Europe completely on U.S. energy, or as much as possible, right? And no matter that U.S. oil and LNG is much more expensive than Russian, no one cares about it. They are just moving ahead with that, and European taxpayers are paying, right? European societies are paying for it with the high inflation, with the high cost of living, with everything else. But as long as people are okay with it, then I see no reason why Western elites will stop these processes. RT is also reporting that India rushes to reclaim gold reserves. So India's central bank has returned a substantial portion of the gold from overseas vaults, aiming concerns over the freezing of more than 300 billion in Russian sovereign and private assets by the West. The Reserve Bank of India, RBI, has significantly increased the share of its gold reserves stored within the country, bringing back around 64 tons of the precious metal during their first 6 months of the current financial year. It said in its yearly report on foreign exchange reserves. At the end of September, the RBI's overall gold holdings were 880.18 metric tons, with 575.82 metric tons held within the country. Of the remaining 290 metric tons were maintained with the Bank of England. Wow, what a surprise! And the Bank of International Settlements, while 13.99 metric tons were held as a gold deposits. So the South Asian nation has been gradually moving gold back to India, according to RBI. In October last year, the central bank shifted 102 tons of gold from Bank of England, and this international settlement Bank of International Settlement, it repatriated another 100 tons in May, and their operation described as one of the largest gold relocations since their 1990s, according to analysts. And good news for India, by the way. I was thinking India will have more reserves, 880 metric tons overall. It's not that big, but at least India is on its way to bring all of its gold inside the country, and most of it now is in India. But still, about 200 tons are in Bank of England and this Bank of International Settlements, and they have to bring it back to India for sure, because they cannot trust Western financial and banking system. It's crazy to trust them at this point, isn't it? And not just because what Western so-called elites did with Russian assets, right? There are many other reasons too, but of course, what they did with Russian assets is a clear signal to everybody in this world to stay away from Western financial and banking system, Western economies, and I think it's not just India. Many other countries will do the same, step by step, not to cause trouble with these still more or less powerful Western countries, but eventually they will also, everybody will try to keep their assets inside, or to invest in truly secure places, right? But not in the Western financial and the banking system, not in the Western jurisdiction, let's say. RT is also reporting that Finnish region is losing 1 million euros approximately a day, every single day, without Russian visitors. Information is coming from Bloomberg. The Finnish region of South Karelia has been losing an estimated 1 million euro, $1.2 million in tourist income every day. since the country's closed its border with Russia, Bloomberg reported on Saturday. Finland shut all crossings along a 1,400-kilometer land border with Russia in late 2023, accusing Moscow of orchestrating an influx of migrants from Africa and the Middle East. Russia dismissed the allegations as a completely baseless. For decades, South Karelia, this Finnish region, which lies closer to St. Petersburg than to Helsinki, had enjoyed lucrative ties with Russia, from cross-border shopping and tourism to lumber imports and local jobs in their forest industry. The loss of Russian visitors has reportedly left hotels, shops, and restaurants deserted, dealing a heavy blow to the local economy. Russian customers asked why we could stay open around the clock. Sari Tukianen, whose store is set to close by the end of the year due to declining sales, said they brought clothes in stocks. They bought clothes in stocks, mostly their latest fashion and the bling, but even winter coats were sold out by August. She told Bloomberg unemployment in the town of Imatra, a former tourist hotspot, has climbed to 15%, the highest in the country, as mines and their steel plants have cut jobs, Bloomberg said. And by the way, Finland was a part of Russian Empire for around 110 years, and despite the two wars with the Soviet Union from 1939 to 1944, maintained friendly ties with Moscow during the Cold War. Helsinki imposed sanctions on Russia in 2022 over their Ukraine conflict and later abandoned long-standing neutrality by joining NATO. And so, yes, people of Finland was not asked, by the way, right? What they think either about abandoning neutrality and joining NATO, either about destroying relationships with Russia. Finns never were asked about it by their own elites, so-called elites, right? And now ordinary people on this Finnish border region are struggling because of this insane elites and their policies that they have, right? Why? You know, they will have elections soon, right? And at least Finnish people should try to get rid of these cycles that are in charge there. Otherwise, well, what is the destiny of Finland, by the way? I mean, truly. What is the destiny of the Finland? They enjoyed a great deal of success thanks to their neutrality. Although we'll understand that Finland was big time integrated into anti-Russian Western bloc, but formally at least it was still neutral. And that was enough to enjoy decades of success, right? And now decline. That's the price. That's the price that Finns will pay now for irresponsible policies of their elites. And let's hope Finnish people will wake up and demand some changes, or will make some changes happen, because after all, it's their country. It's their country. TASS News Agency is also reporting that Europe set to a new LNG import record in October. According to the results of first 10 months of this year, fuel supplies from terminals of the European gas transportation system exceeded 116.5 billion cubic meters, and most of this LNG is coming from US, I guess, right? Which is much more expensive than Russian pipeline gas or even Russian LNG. But that's what Europeans want, by the way. That's what they want. They want to pay more, and they do. And yet again, that's what European elites want, not necessarily the people. But yet again, as long as the societies in Europe are in deep sleep and are not protesting this craziness, I think nothing will change, and inflation will only continue to go up. Cost of living will only continue to go up, and and that's it really. Standard of life will eventually begin declining significantly. I think it has already declined there tremendously because when you read news about what's happening in Europe, by the way, I mean it's a freaking dangerous place, man. It's based on those news. One might think that Europe already turned into some third world region or country or whatever, right? And this is just the beginning of decline of the Europe and collective West in general. I think so because with such elites that they have right now, I don't know what kind of hope they might have, man. I just don't know. And dear friends, this is it for news segment. This is it for news segment. Let me check. By the way, oh, there was no super chat on Rumble after Diana Modos super chat. And dear friends, let me now highlight. Hopefully you did like the new segment, dear friends. Hopefully it was interesting, maybe entertaining, useful. So if you liked it, please click that like button and leave some commentary. This might help to deal with the algorithm. And and before I join community, before I join community chat and react on the questions or the comments, let me highlight, dear friends, what messages Anya sent me about donations on, for example, PayPal. I will check now Boosty just to make sure that I don't miss nothing there. So there are no, yeah, unfortunately, there are no donation on the Boosty during this live stream. Although there was donation this morning, by the way, and I will highlight that. But there was a donation of $5 on PayPal from Sean. Thank you very much, Sean. And Sean had commented, and Sean had a question. Great show. Start using nicknames for certain groups to avoid the algorithms. Your regulars will know who you are talking about. Question: do you see black people in Russia, and what's their demeanor there? Respect from Hartford, Esther, USA. And yes, by the way, I mean, there is thousands of students here in Russia, in Moscow, for example, from many African nations. And also there is guests, thousands and thousands. Of course, it's not like in US, for example, or in UK maybe, and that is also quite understandable. Russia never had this history of slavery and that kind of negativity, right? So therefore, African migrants or students from Africa, different African nations, they are here. They are well respected, by the way. They feel good, right? They might experience some not necessarily racism, but they might sometimes experience extreme attention, let's say this way, because you might see, in Russia, by the way, there is probably a lot of places, right, especially in the rural areas, where people have never seen in real life someone from Africa, right? And with dark skin. And they might be just too curious if they are visiting big cities like I don't know, Moscow, St. Petersburg, Ekaterinburg, or I don't know, any other, right? If they see first time someone from either from Africa or African descent, they might be just too curious. Not because they are racist, but they see first time someone with a dark skin, right? And they might just pay too much attention. But this is I don't think this is racism of any sort. They just first time see someone that does not looks like them, and they might be just too curious, right? I think this happens in many countries in this world where there is no such a significant mix of population as it is in US, for example, or in UK. And when it comes to these countries, mainly this mix is coming from past history of slavery and exploitation of their other nations, right? So, you can walk around Moscow, and there is, by the way, Russians of African descent. Russians, ordinary Russians, by the way, of African descent. They, there is a very popular blogger, for example. I watch quite often those videos that this person makes. Very popular blogger, Russian, but of African descent. And it's great, by the way, right? So, yes, that's how it is. Yet again, if you are coming from Africa, one of the African countries, and gonna stay in Russia for a long time, unfortunately, someday you might just, met some freaking idiot that might be racist or just degenerate, right? But in general, you're gonna be okay, man. You're gonna feel good. They are crazies, by the way. Some are so insane, right? That because I am a southerner, right? I am a dark skinned compared to northerners, right? I'm from Caucasus region. And you might find some people, by the way, that call us black southerners, actually. Right? So yes, there are some crazies, but those crazies are not there are not too many of them, thanks God, right? So that's the answer to your question, Sean. Thank you very much for $5 donation. And also, dear friends, let me highlight that there was also a $12 donation and a $33 donation, although members of community who donated did not want their name to be mentioned. So I will say thank you very much, and truly appreciated your support and donation, attention. Overall, dear friends, by now we have like 33, 12, that's 50, isn't it? No, 50, yes, right. 40, 5, 45 and 5, 50. We have $50 from PayPal as a donation, and I have now this to highlight, dear friends. This is so since the beginning of this stream, dear friends, there was a $50 donation through PayPal, and many thanks to everybody who donated. And this morning there was a donation from Alexander G with a question, with a commentary, basically with the opinion. Thank you very much, Alexander, for your donation, for your support. It's a $10 donation, by the way, 773 rubles on a Boosty. And Alexander G commented, Burevestnik, it seems to be launched from ground by solid fuel rocket booster that detaches after launch. Then their nuclear turbojet engine takes over. Very interesting technology. Thank you very much, Alexander G. I understand exactly the same way as you described there. I think that's exactly how it works, how it operates. It launched from the ground, for sure. And initially, it's a booster that gives it acceleration, and then this nuclear power plant goes in and um, provides missile with the thrust. So thank you very much for your donation, Alexander, for your opinion, for your attention. And it is interesting. It's a unique technology, isn't it? Many people, many times had expressed different ideas how they can use nuclear power source for planes, for missiles, for many things, right? But it's Russia. It's only Russia, at least for now, that actually used the nuclear reactor as a source of power for a missile. In this particular case, for a missile, but who knows? Maybe one day we will see planes being using nuclear reactors. Who knows? I mean, possible, I guess. And also, dear friends, as I already mentioned, there was donation from D Model Scatter. Thank you very much, Diana, for your support, for your donation and the super chat. And a comment from D Model Scatter is thanks for your honest reporting. Thank you very much for your support and attention. Thank you. And for your kind words. Thank you. And dear friends, I did highlight everything for this moment. I did not miss nothing, I believe. So now I will join community chat, and if there will be any donations while we are online, of course, I will highlight that. On the paper, dear friends, all you have to do is just write no mentioning if you don't want your name to be mentioned. I'm only mentioning first name there. I'm never mentioning first and surnames, just the first name. But if you don't want it, I will just say that there was a donation on the PayPal, and that's it. So, okay. Let me now scroll to the top of chat. And let's have a conversation. 2 hours, by the way. New segment is 2 hours, quite long. But I mean, a lot of news. I'm gonna check right now for potential breaking news. In 2 hours, a lot of things might happen. So let's check for any breaking news. Three civilians were wounded in Belgorod region during the day as a result of drone strikes conducted by Kyiv regime with assistance of NATO. I saw a report on RIA Novosti, dear friends. Also, let me check TASS News Agency if maybe there is any breaking news there. No breaking news for this moment. Let's see взгляд. Okay, no breaking news at this particular point. And so, okay, now I'm joining chat, dear friends. Community chat starts 2-hour live stream. Wow. And so let's start with this commentary from Kent Anderson. Soon 4 years, why have Russia not yet totally defeat Ukraine on the battlefield and they finish their proxy war. And why Ukraine never capitulate? Ukraine seems 2025 still have a big army. How is that possible? Well, can't. It's a complex issue, isn't it? And there is no easy answers or simple answers on that. But I'll try to explain what is going on. This conflict should not last, and it was not planned to last for this long. I believe Plan A of Russian leadership was to basically force Kiev regime to accept Russian terms, right, to the escalator in the first week or two. And the Russian side was very close to achieving this, right? A special military operation was launched as a forced measure because it was absolutely obvious that NATO was pumping Kiev regime with all sorts of weapons and preparing to start a war in Donbass, right? And to provoke Russia. And basically Moscow made decision to act, to conduct preemptive, to take preemptive steps, right? And special military operation began. And their plan A was kind of working, isn't it? And in special military operation began in February 2022, and in March, April already, after a few weeks, by the way, in March, negotiations started initially in Belarus, and then negotiations moved to Turkey, isn't it? And the Kiev regime agreed on Russian proposals to de-escalate. But then we know what happened, isn't it? Western elites get involved and they basically derail the agreement between Moscow and Kiev. And after that, Western elites invested in this war, in this proxy war against Russia, at least about $500 billion. Can you imagine how much money is that? Can you imagine how much weapons being sent to Kiev regime? Not just money as a money, but also weapons and munition, intelligence of all sorts, right? And other assistance. So that was basically enough to not just prolong this war, but to not just to derail, basically, not just to derail agreement, initial agreement that was in place between Moscow and Kiev, but to prolong this war for this long. It's almost 4 years now, right? And yes, I mean, if you invest $400-500 billion in any country, by the way, to provoke a war and then prolong the war while sacrificing locals, if you put your proxy regime there that will sacrifice everybody, then you'll be able to do very same stuff in any country, in any other country, right? That's the reason. People being sacrificed on Kiev-controlled territory, isn't it? Forcefully mobilized, sacrificed, and that's the one thing. West invested just too much in this proxy war, right? A lot of weapons, a lot of money. That's one of the reasons why this conflict continues this long. Another, you are asking why Kiev regime never capitulate. It's not about Kiev regime, by the way. It's about character of the Russians, right? We should keep in mind that people on the Kiev-controlled territory are Russians. It's a Russian people, right? Some of them, maybe many of them, were brainwashed to believe that they are no longer Russian and they have no connection with Russia, Russian world, Russian history, culture, traditions, but they are Russians, right? We know this. It's a factual. And if Russians know anything, by the way, it's a fight. Russians know how to fight, right? And I don't know if you have heard stories from frontline when, for example, there is famous story, isn't it? When Kiev regime's formation, one of the units were encircled by Russian forces and Russian militaries offered their surrender, offered their this encircled Kiev regime's troops to surrender, lay down arms and surrender. And you know what they answered? Russians don't surrender. You know, and they fight and died, all of them, entire unit of that Kiev regime died in that fight. And their answer was Russians not surrender. So that's one of the reasons why this fight is still ongoing. But even though this is a huge tragedy, of course, for Russian world, by the way, everything that has its beginning has its end, and this tragedy is going to end also, obviously. And I think quite soon, civil war in first half of 20th century, when Bolsheviks conducted the revolution, civil war lasted from and this is civil war, by the way, what is happening right now. Unfortunately, Western elites were capable of provoking this civil war, right, to brainwash many people on Kiev controlled territory and then to provoke this war. And if history, you know, there are say that history repeats itself, isn't it? And if we take a history of previous civil war in the Russian world, it lasted from 1917, 1918 to 1922, 1923, right? So we are getting closer to that point, I guess. Now it's almost 4 years, another year or two, and that's about it. This war will end. During the civil war in first half of 20th century, millions of people died, by the way. Millions of people, right? And unfortunately, Western world play negative role then too. And you might don't believe, but I don't know about you. I mean, maybe you are historian, so you know this perfectly well. But there was a British troops, by the way, American troops. There was European troops from European countries and from USA also, that were supporting one of the sides in the civil war. Then, back in 20s of 20th century. And they were supporting White Army, so-called White Army, right? They lost her, and those European and American troops quickly retreated then and ran away. But yes, they were playing this negative role then, and they are doing the same now. They send a lot of money, a lot of weapons, and they're also military personnel. If you think American militaries don't die in this conflict, you are mistaken. They died, a lot of them. A lot of British military personnel and intelligence representatives died. A lot of French military personnel, right? According to and there are special forces members from many NATO countries, by the way. And someday this information will be declassified, and we will probably learn that hundreds of militaries of the NATO countries, UK, France, Germany, US, others, have been killed even before they openly entered the conflict. And unfortunately, I'm afraid there will be open direct clashes too between Russian and NATO troops on certain scale. And this will happen soon, I'm afraid. But yes, they are directly involved now too. But yet again, that civil war in 20s of last century lasted there from 1918 to 1922, 23, 5-6 years, right? Some might argue that there was longer because certain units were still doing some stuff somewhere of White Army. But generally speaking, that's the time frame, right? And we are getting closer to that point. It's already 4 years. So probably this war will last maybe another year or two, and that's about it. And 100 years ago, side that was supported by the West lost, and now side that is supported by the West will lose again. History repeats itself, right? So that's my explanation. I can go in. I can say much more than this, but yet again, this is quite complex issue, and after Plan A failed due to this negative influence of the West when they derailed peace talks, after that Plan B began being implemented, and Plan B is an attrition campaign, and attrition campaign takes time. Attrition campaign takes time, by the way, right? Always. And many military experts are saying that Kiev regime's forces basically are on the brink of collapse, right? Maybe they will manage to, maintain central command for a month or two, three, but many military experts are saying that Kiev regime's forces are very close to collapse, and this might happen in next several months. And after that, we will see probably rapid developments on a line of contact, and that will bring end of this active phase of military operations to the end. Let's continue, dear friends. I will time to time check if there is any. As I said, dear friends, Anya is not here. She's still at work, and maybe she will have no time to check PayPal. It's her account, isn't it? Maybe she will have no time to check PayPal. If I miss her, if I wouldn't be able to, if there was donation and I was not able to highlight it, I will highlight it tomorrow, by the way. So I'm checking. I can check Boosty, by the way, and I can check Rumble. And right now, by the way, literally, I see a donation on Rumble from Dwalder. Let me make a screenshot, dear friends. Let me make screenshot of a super chat, and I will highlight now. Very generous support from Dwalda. Hopefully I'm pronouncing correctly the nickname. So this is a super chat from Dwalda. Thank you very much, Dwalda, for your very generous supporter of $50 on the Rumble, and for your super chat. And comment from Dwalda is, thank you for all your hard work, very informative. I think their nuclear technology breakthrough will be very interesting in space travel. Well, I agree with you absolutely. And recently, Russian president, when he was meeting with Russian militaries that were recovering in a hospital, Russian president himself said that this breakthrough in miniaturization of nuclear reactors will be very useful and will be deployed in scientific research programs on the moon, for example. And moon is a first step, of course, and God knows, in 20, 30, 50 years time, maybe, thanks to these first steps, we will be able to travel around solar system at least, right, in more or less adequate time frame. Because right now, with the current technology, it takes forever before spacecraft, for example, will reach, let's say, moons of Jupiter or Saturn, right? And some of those moons are extremely, extremely interesting. I mean, all of them are interesting, but some of the moons of Jupiter and Saturn are very promising in terms of potential for some life forms, not necessarily like intelligent life forms, but nevertheless life forms, right? Europa, for example, a moon which is covered with ice, and according to some scientific research, they should be water, liquid water under the ice, right? And if there is a water, there is a possibility that there is some form of life too. Also, by the way, uh, Titan. Titan is very different, isn't it? On Titan, you have rivers and you have seas and you have lakes, massive lakes, right? But these rivers, seas, and lakes are not from water, but from liquefied methane, right? It's a gas, but it's so cold out there that this gas turns into liquid, and I don't know how it's possible that if it's even possible theoretically that a life form can be based on uh, carbon, but maybe I mean it's very different environment obviously on Titan, but maybe there is some life forms there too, completely alien to our planet. When water, liquid water plays major role for basically all life forms, right? On Titan things might be very different, and there is so many other moons, isn't it, that are interesting for the first phase of the space explorations. I mean, if we manage to travel fast enough around our solar system, that will be a great deal of success, obviously. And then sometime in the future, in like 100, 200, 300 years, maybe interstellar travel will become available for humanity. I don't know, but I agree with you absolutely, Valde, that this miniaturization of breakthrough in miniaturization of nuclear reactors and these breakthroughs in nuclear technology will definitely help with their scientific explorations, including in space. Thank you very much once again for your generous support and for your super chat on Rumble. Thank you. And dear friends, I see comment from Nikos. Levan, I know that you don't believe it, but Ukraine is responsible for the drones usage and their innovation. Yes, data are being sent, but they are mostly manually controlled. Don't underestimate them. No, I don't underestimate no one, Nikos, but those drones that we are talking about, uh, most of those drones, I don't think even Kyiv regime denies that. Most of those drones are coming from the West or being assembled on Kyiv controlled territory, but crucial parts, crucial elements, electronics, right, guidance system, is coming from the West. Kyiv regime itself just cannot do it. They were not in a position to do this before this military escalation, and they are not in a position to do it now. They are not there. And then you yourself are mentioning that they are receiving flight path, right, from their outside. So you are mentioning that they are receiving data, they are receiving intelligence, they are receiving navigation, right, for these drones, flight path, how to avoid try at least to avoid Russian air defense systems. They are receiving intelligence, satellite intelligence, flight path, targeting data. That's everything, right? Basically, if you have some details, right? If you are good engineer or promising engineer even, right, student, you can build a drone yourself. You can just buy on I don't know, on AliExpress some stuff and just build it. But then you need a flight path targeting data, right? To launch this drone successfully, to avoid their defenses. And this technology, these means are in hands of US mainly. And US shares this intelligence with the countries of Five Eyes, right? And UK is among them, obviously. And maybe US sometimes shares information directly with the Kiev regime, sometimes indirectly, but eventually Kiev regime gets its hands on all the necessary information to launch these drones, right? So without, it's NATO attacks. That's all I want to say. It's NATO attacks, by the way. It's I'm not underestimating capabilities of Kiev regime. By the way, Soviet Ukraine used to play a crucial role in Russian aerospace industry, right? And Russian Soviet era RS-18, that is, isn't it? Satan missile. That missile was built in Dnipropetrovsk, I believe. Dnipropetrovsk play a crucial role. Local, engineers and local manufacturers of Izhmash, isn't it? Or whatever the name is of the company. They did play a role, significant role in development of that very successful missile. So there was a technology, there was know-how, by the way, knowledge. Obviously, once Soviet Union collapsed on Kiev-controlled territory, T-64 tanks and the T-80 tanks, for example, which is a sort of continuation, some might argue, of this project of T-64. Those tanks were built in Kharkov, in Kharkov tank plant, and so there was institutions, by the way, entire institutions that were working and educating people to, into all their necessary fields, engineering and design and this and that. There was a great school in Soviet Ukraine that was providing stuff for military-industrial complex, but times has changed. I mean, Soviet Union collapsed some 30 years ago, and these 30 years, by the way, since then, there was only neglect and degradation on a Kiev-controlled territory. There was no progress in anything, right? Barely these mighty companies of Soviet era were barely breathing, barely surviving, right? Izhmash, Motor Sea, and the rest of them. That was the reality. And that's why I'm saying right now, Kiev regime cannot even produce like basic missiles, man, without Western assistance. While Soviet Ukraine was capable of producing intercontinental ballistic missiles. So I'm not underestimating no one, by the way, absolutely. But we have to be realistic. All the crucial components, key components, in those drones, for example, are from the West. It's not produced on a Kiev-controlled territory. And without those key components, your drone not going to fly nowhere, even if you are building drone somewhere in a garage. It will not fly nowhere. You will not be able to conduct successful long-range strike if you have no components from the West that will give you control over the drone, right? Give you opportunity to, give you possibility to navigate and potentially avoid areas where air defenses are working. So, without Western assistance, Kiev regime wouldn't last for a month or two. Let's say this way. Without direct Western assistance, financial and military and intelligence, Kiev regime and Kiev regime's forces would not last for more than like 2-3 months, man. I'm quite sure about it. Quite sure about it. Oh, there was a okay. Anya just sent me a screenshot of super chat from Dvalda, but I have already highlighted that. So once again, thank you very much, Dvalda, for your generous support. And let's continue, dear friends. Let's continue our chat. As always, capital letters will make it easier to spot the question that is directed to me, towards me. David Wage is commenting, load the Poseidon drone and Khabarovsk. Well, these are, let's hope these weapons will never be put into use. Let's just hope for it, because it's horrifying weapons. It's truly horrifying weapons, man. Poseidon is I mean, it's a scary stuff, man. Burevestnik is a breakthrough, obviously, but Burevestnik can carry ordinary warhead, right? Ordinary. I mean, it's nothing ordinary about nuclear weapons, but nevertheless, I mean, Burevestnik can carry typical thermonuclear warhead of 150 to 250 kiloton, which is devastating power, of course, right? But it's not 100 megaton. And according to some speculations on internet, Poseidon might actually carry warhead of 400 megaton, which I'm skeptical of. I don't think. I mean, why you need 400 megaton warhead? But I think speculations about 50 to 100 megaton warhead is more or less correct, and it's a horrifying weapons. It can literally wiped out entire coastal area and turn it into uninhabited zone for thousands of years. Yet again, if cobalt is used in a warhead, which will accelerate radioactivity of the weapon. Oh, really? Cassonel, Cassonel commenting, Levan, your thumbs up. Casson Love is commenting, Levan, your thumbs up is not working on YouTube, but we love everything you do. We all know USA, Europe, and UK are mafias countries, just like gangsters. They are controlling war and corruption. Thank you for a comment and for sharing about like button. Maybe it was I don't know, some glitch. Hopefully it's working now. And dear friends, if you like this video, please click that like button. It might help to reach wider audience. Short video from my previous live stream, dear friends. Friday. It was a Friday, isn't it? I published 2 short videos from live stream, and one of them, thanks to you, dear friends, and your likes and comments, one of them did manage to bypass somehow barriers of algorithm, and it has like last time I see, it had like 20,000 views or something, and about 50 members join. 50 new members join our community, which is great, and I welcome all of them, of course. So you see, these likes and comments do work. Maybe not every day, but every now and then we are managing to deal with the algorithm. So let's scroll. A question from Stavros Karagorgis. Has the Russian Federation provided updated and upgraded MiG-29s to their Islamic Republic of Iran? Stavros, there are rumors about it. There are rumors about it on the internet, but on official pages, I have not seen no reports about Russia providing any planes whatsoever, right? Although we can say with certainty that Russia at least provided Yak-130s, right? Yak-130s to Iran, for sure, at least several, because there is a photos that are circulating on internet. When in hangars, there is a silhouette, you can clearly see silhouette of the plane, and it's Yak-130. This is a training plane, training combat plane that is used to train pilots for modern Russian fighter jets. And this topic of MiG-29s is somewhat tricky because I know Iran has purchased Su-35s. And there was even reports like some 6-7 months ago that Russia actually delivered Su-35s, right? But no one side made official statement about it. Nothing is known officially about this matter, right? Information seems to be classified. And just recently, relatively recently, rumors began circulating about Russia providing Iran with the MiG-29s, modernized MiG-29s. And well, modernized MiG-29s is a MiG-35, right? Maybe Russia actually provided Iran with their MiG-35s. And MiG-35, by the way, it looks like MiG-29, but in reality, it's basically very different plane with much bigger potential than MiG-29 ever had. In every way possible, right? It has a best possible radar that MiG-29 never dreamed of. It has updated avionics, updated weapon systems, fire control system. It has it's a high maneuverability plane also, and it has I mean, nowadays when beyond visual range fight is decisive, right? Decides everything. This high maneuverability may not be that important, but you never know. Sometimes you might run out of missiles and you might have to engage your opponent in a dogfight. And if it comes to dogfight, MiG-35 as a Russian Su-35 and also Su-30 and Su-57s also has this technology when nozzles are moving separately, independently on 360 directions. US planes, only US has similar technology somewhat on F-22s, although on US planes, these nozzles are moving up and down only, right? Only vertically, not horizontally. But Russian engines do have this 360 movement capability, Russian planes nozzles, which means this power is directed in certain directions, right? Which gives this incredible maneuverability to the Russian planes. So MiG-29 has that too. It's a new plane. It's a 4++ generation plane, MiG-35. And well, maybe those planes were actually transferred to Iran. There is even video, by the way, that is circulating on internet when plane which looks like MiG-29 or MiG-35 is flying on the horizon. But is it a new plane that was delivered by Russia in past few weeks, or is it an old MiG-29 that Iran has? Hard to tell. But officially, I did not see no report on any of the Russian media outlets about transfer of any planes to Iran whatsoever. Even Yak-130s were not reported. Although I have no doubts that Russia has transferred Yak-30s to train the pilots for modern planes. So it's hard to tell. It's all speculations at this point, Stavros. But well, it is. We know that Russian transport planes, quite a number of Russian transport planes, conducted flights to Iran including from Irkutsk, right? And in Irkutsk, by the way, there is one of the manufacturing plants for Russian fighter jets. Su-30s, I believe, are manufactured there. Maybe MiG-29s too, Su-35s. So, who knows what kind of planes were potentially transferred to Iran. But yet again, I mean, if it comes to confrontation with the US or Israel, of course, Iran needs to have an air force, but I think much more important is to invest in air defenses. I think much more important to invest in air defenses, and maybe Russia was transferring with those transport planes air defense systems, not the planes, but air defense systems and radio electronic warfare systems. I think that will help Iran much bigger than a squadron of any type of modern fighter jets, because on side of Iran's potential enemies is overwhelming numbers. And let's be real here. Iran not gonna have 500 fighter jets or 700 fighter jets, let's say in next couple of years' time, right? Russia cannot provide this many planes. Even China cannot provide this many planes, right? And with a one squadron or two squadron, what you gonna do against hundreds of Israeli planes and hundreds of American planes on top of that? So air defense systems, radio electronic warfare should be priority, I think, and probably are priority for Iran. Let's continue. And there was a Anya is writing me now that some members of our community were asking what is the percentage that is PayPal is taking from the donations. It's about 8%, dear friends. PayPal takes about 8% of donation. Rumble takes about 30% from Super Chat. But when there is a subscription on Rumble, in that case, number is also like 5% or 8%. Premium subscriptions. From premium subscriptions, for whatever reason, Rumble takes much less than from Super Chat. From Super Chat, it takes, as YouTube does, by the way, around 30%. But on the PayPal takes about 8% of donation. So Anya told me that some members were asking about it, so that's how it is. And on Boosty also, it's like on PayPal, like 5, 7, 8%. Well, let me check Boosty. I just mentioned it. So let me check Boosty. So no donations there, so I can continue with the chat. It's almost 3 hours, dear friends. I don't want to do no records this time. Last Sunday, remember, we had a 4-hour plus stream. That was a record. And this time, I think, of course, if there is super chat and stuff, of course, I'll stay online happily. But otherwise, I think 3 hours will do. I'm scrolling, dear friends, now through chat. Let me. There was a $12 donation on PayPal, dear friends, and their member of community don't want name to be mentioned. So thank you very much to member of our community for $12 donation on the PayPal. Thank you. That's that's a good question. Your comrade is commenting, why do all terrorists ride Toyotas or Nissans? Because Japanese know how to build cars. Japanese know how to build cars. Toyotas are unkillable. You. I mean, you can joke that you might drove with a tank or the Toyota, and it will still engine will still work. That's how reliable Japanese cars are. Not the uh, you know. I will argue that no other country produces such a reliable cars as Japan does. I think I'm objective while saying so. I know members of our community from Germany might say, "What are you talking about? German cars are best." Members of our community from US might say, "What are you talking about? American cars are best." But I mean, I think Japanese are on top of the game still when it comes to reliability of the cars, man. Toyotas just are, like forever cars, man. you know, uh, some people are complaining that latest Toyota Prados and their latest models are built there not on the same level of quality as the previous models, but still, Toyotas are on top of the game, I guess, or Japanese car manufacturers in general. But yet again, members of our community from Germany, Italy, US might disagree with me. Members of our community from France, by the way, I never had been, trust in the French cars. I'm gonna tell you, they have like Citroën, right? Renault, Citroën. What else? I don't even know any other car from France, man. Renault and Citroën, right? Is there any other? Don't know, but yeah. In Europe, France is producing probably worst possible cars from big. I mean, okay, Seat is a Spanish car, isn't it? Seat might be on the level of Renault and Citroën. So okay, they are French car manufacturers are not alone. There is a Spanish colleagues there, but Germany, Italy, of course, are big players. UK used to be big player too, but all UK companies, car manufacturers, are now owned by German car manufacturers or Chinese, right? So can we call those cars still British? I don't know, but Rolls Royce is a BMW, isn't it? And I never liked that car, anyways. From UK, I think best cars from UK were, I mean, Aston Martin, Bond's car, Lotus, by the way, good car. What else, man? Jaguar used to be legendary car manufacturer, but nowadays I don't know what has happening with that brand, man. They are sinking deep into. But Jaguar used to have some great models. I mean, Bentley and Rolls Royce. It's not for us, not for ordinary people. By the way, I guess so. But when it comes to and Aston Martin too is very expensive, right? Lotus too. I mean, Jaguar was a car on the expensive side of things, but still, I guess middle class family could afford the Jaguar. But nowadays, I don't think anyone would want to buy these new models of Jaguar, especially after their makeover into some gender fluid nonsense, man. A comment from Smokey Sally: Trump is not a Christian and Trump is never honest. Now Trump is using food as a weapon against many struggling Americans. Trump is just as evil as Netanyahu. They are genocide partners. Thank you very much for sharing, Smokey Sally, your opinion. I agree with you. I agree with you. In Trump's administration, I see no Christianity or Christian values. That's for sure. That's for sure. I mean, they might say whatever they want, but factually speaking, they are about to start war against and kill Christians in Venezuela. They are threatening Cuba, by the way, also majority Christian country. They are threatening Colombia, and they are doing whatever they can to prolong, together with the globalists, neocons and the rest, to prolong this proxy war against Russia that Western elites are waging, right? And Russia is a majority Christian country, true, as it is the case on the Kiev-controlled territory. So, I mean, they can call themselves Christians, but they are not. I don't believe that they have any care about Christianity or Christian values or traditions or moral. They are using religion as a weapon too. That's all it is. Many elements in American conservative movement and also in Europe, by the way, are using religion, Christianity now as a weapon to mass people around them, right? To mislead the people and say, oh, we are Christians, Christian values, while in reality, I mean, they have no Christian values, man, right? Absolutely not. I see we are now using Trumpist media as a valid sources of information about American and European cities. Stavros Karagiorgis is commenting about which news you are saying this, Stavros. To me personally, Western MSM is total garbage, right? All of it. They all are anything but media, right? But I have to use some sources, isn't it? When I'm talking about some stuff, I have to use the sources, and I have to mention: is it I don't know, this media outlet or that media outlet? It does not mean that I see those outlets as a true media. No, but you need to use some source, isn't it, to report about stuff, and that's it. And there are those Western MSM, by the way, time to time they have to share some truth, isn't it? That's how propaganda works. They give you 5% truth, 5% factual information, 10% max, right? Rest is propaganda. And that's the trickery, this 5% of truth that you can check should trigger you to believe rest, right? And the rest is propaganda. That's how they work, man. That's how they do. And I grew up in journalism, right? And I can distinguish where this 5% is, right? 5 to 10%, where the factual information and where propaganda goes. And I'm trying to give you information that is reliable, information that you can check on other sources too. No one is perfect. I might miscalculate sometimes. I might see some report that I think it is factual, because I see it on numerous media outlets, but maybe all those media outlets being wrong, right? And I might unwillingly make mistake. No one is perfect, right? But I'm trying to share news that I have seen on several, at least, sources, right? So therefore, I have believed that this is true information. But anyways, I always say, let's take any information with pinch of salt nowadays, dear friends, because we are living in crazy times, isn't it? So any information should be taken with a pinch of salt from anybody, you know. Jerry Proctor is commenting, Levan, it's migrants that worked for NATO waging war and terrorism that have been given homes in the UK, EU, and are now attacking the British and Europeans people, but they are still working for NATO. Um, yes, I mean, many members of these terrorist organizations that CIA and MI6 created probably, yes, into moved into Europe, in UK, Europe, and also many others that were followers of this ideology, of this sickening terrorist ideology, right? That was weaponized by CIA and their MI6 through their assets, right? In Al Qaeda or ISIS or whatever. And those criminals, those terrorist groups, might that were created by CIA and their ISIS. I mean, leadership of those terrorist groups might was controlled by U.S. and British secret services, right? But what about following that they had? How many people they did brainwash in a process? And those brainwashed people that are radicalized to the extremes, those people are coming to Europe too, yes. So this trouble that Europe is facing now was a big time result of their criminal actions, criminal policies, and criminal operations that secret services and political class of US, UK, and other Western countries were engaged in, for sure. And even with the leadership of those terrorist groups, by the way, yes, I think most of them were working for CIA and MI6 and were neutralized when they were no longer useful for the secret services. And I think these terrorist organizations still are working for CIA and other secret services that CIA is cooperating with. I'm quite sure about it, that most of their terrorist groups are creation of the CIA and its affiliates. 100% convinced in that, by the way. For example, there is in Idlib province, by the way, that was controlled at the time by current regime of Syria. They were locked in Idlib, isn't it, for a very long time. And thousands of Uyghurs went undergo, training in the camps, terrorist camps there. Uyghurs of Chinese nationality, Chinese citizenship, right? And they have even an organization, by the way. They have an organization. There's this terrorist organization being promoted in the Western media. I cannot give you exact name, but there's videos videos when interviews being taken by Western media and so on, right? And I will never ever believe that this organization is a pure creation of some random Uyghurs from China that went to Idlib to fight against Assad. No, man. These were people that was recruited through active work of Turkish secret services, right? And these are Turkic-speaking people, right? So these Chinese Uyghurs, thousands and thousands of them, were recruited through different social platforms. They traveled to Syria, went to these camps, undergo training under the strict control of CIA, Turkish secret services, British secret services, and they are now prepared to be deployed against China, to infiltrate China through Central Asia, for example, right? And that's why Central Asia now is on the line of fire, because Western elites will definitely try to destabilize Central Asian republics that are bordering with China, so that they will have an uncontrolled area where they can deploy those Uyghurs, for example. So all these terrorist organizations, by the way, all of them, or most of them, let's say this way, most of them are creation of CIA and MI6 and all the other secret services that are working with them, from quasi regimes that they have, like Turkey, for example. It's a proxy of UK, isn't it? Since forever. So oh, Alexander G is commenting. Venezuela asked for their gold back from the UK earlier this year. What a coincidence. Well, Venezuela not gonna get its gold from UK, I guess. Why these countries are keeping gold in foreign vaults, man? Why? Russia also does that kind of stuff, I believe, and I'm not sure all 2,300 tons of Russian gold is in central banks' vaults. I'm not really sure about it. Maybe some volume of this gold is kept in some foreign vaults, maybe even in Western countries. I don't know. Why? Just keep your gold to your hands, man, into your hands. So yes, I mean, thank you for information, Alexander. I did not know they asked her. They had gold in UK and demanded return of it, but they're not gonna get it. Not now. AGT Desai is commenting India's ISRO launches heaviest military satellite SMS or CMS 03. Great news. I I missed it, I guess, if there was a launch from India. Uh, well, great news there, by the way. India is definitely one of the few countries in this world that can independently launch satellites into space. Nikos is commenting, Levan, I'm sorry, but Finland won't change. They are in the top 5 Russophobic countries, according to research, and their hatred of Finnish people towards Russia is their top 3. I know from Finn. Well, I mean, if you're 24/7 gonna tell people to hate this particular group or that particular group, eventually that's what you will get. Total hate, right? That's what you're gonna get. If you 24/7 will tell people, certain group of people, that they are like aliens, literally they are aliens, Everyone else is local from here, but they particular, I mean, this group is alien and they're higher race and that kind of stuff. Eventually, if you brainwash these people enough 24/7, eventually they will start believing that they are exceptional. They are alien race, and the rest maybe look like them, but rest is just irrelevant, right? It's only them that are these some super beings. So yes, unfortunately, human psyche is quite fragile stuff, isn't it? And many people are very easily convinced by propaganda. You just tell them same stuff, like time again, every day, for a long enough period, and they will believe in whatever you are telling them. So yes, Finnish people being told, I guess, if your statistic is correct, then they've been told long enough to hate Russians, and they do now. I mean, is there any difference in any other country that is, on this trajectory of Russia hate? It's the same everywhere. Don't people hate? Many people, maybe even majority, hate Russians in UK, or in France, or in Germany, or in Austria, or I don't know, Italy. Probably do. If you go and ask the first 100 people, question who they hate most from European peoples, and Russians are Europeans, right? Indo-Europeans, by the way. Most of the Russians, not all, but most of the Russians are Indo-Europeans, and certain part is Mongoloid, right? But most are Indo-Europeans, so same as any other European. And so, yeah, if you ask who you hate most, if you get answer, probably majority will say Russia, because it's you're not gonna face consequences if you say you hate Russian, right? You're gonna get some consequences if you say you hate any other group, by the way, any other group of people. But if you say you hate Russians, you might get applause even in some circumstances in the West, right? That's how much people being poisoned with this hatred, with this propaganda of hate. And it's sad, man. It's sad. It's very unfortunate. Thanks God there is a very informed people, by the way, all over the Western world, and they have no hate in their heart, not towards Russians, not towards anybody. But yet again, that's minority, right? Majority, yeah, majority being brainwashed, man. Because humans are fragile. Human psyche is fragile, and how could anyone believe 100 years ago, for example, that nation of unimaginable philosophers, scientists, greatest intellects, right? Germany. How could anyone 100 years ago could believe that Germany could become a Nazi? German people might, in its majority, become Nazis and start believing that they are some higher race, and the rest of them are just subhumans and stuff. Nation of this one of the greatest philosophers, humanists, and so on. But you put people in certain conditions, and you'll be able to brainwash them. And German society, after losing First World War, was in extreme poverty, in extreme depression. There was no hope, no nothing for many. And these radical ideas of some crazies did gain the ground, and eventually they began dominating. So, people can be brainwashed quite easily, and being brainwashed before very our eyes, by the way. I mean, take a look at the uh, Western world, man. I'm focused on Western world because Western world is waging war against Russia. By the way, I'm not saying that there is any different situation elsewhere. Propaganda works everywhere, right? Depends what kind of propaganda. Thanks God, in Russia there is no propaganda of hate of anybody, right? You can watch anything you want, any TV channel, any media outlet, or you're not gonna see hate of people, right? You're gonna see negative attitude towards this political element, that political element, this group or that politicians and these leading figures in the West, right? But people, no. But in the West, yeah, it's all about hating Russia and the Russians. Oh, it's already 3 hours and 10 minutes. Nikos is commenting. By the way, Levan, I ran through experiment with the Grok, which is the most objective of their AI using objective data and methods. And congratulations, Russia is considered their superpower within star. That means star, but still, ah, okay. I mean, if I understand correctly, Grok thinks Grok is, of course, this AI on X, by the way, Twitter X, and okay, Grok says Russia is a superpower. I agree with Grok. Russia is a superpower for sure. Uh, ah, Scooby just wrote, dear friends. Please, please apologize to your audience for me. I told them PayPal charges 30% free, and I was wrong. No worries, no worries. Could be, it happens. Sometimes we just might mix up some data from different stuff. Things happen, but it's okay. It's 30% is YouTube and the Rumble. They do take from donations from super chat 30%, around 30%. Uh, PayPal and Boosted take like 5-8%, something like that. And I don't know why, but on Rumble, when someone is becoming premium subscriber or when a member of community buys a premium subscription as a gift to give it to someone, at that point, Rumble also takes very very little, like 5% maybe, not to 30, but from super chat they do take 30. But on PayPal, it's 5-8%. No worries, Scooby. It's all good. And so yes, thank you, Nikos, for sharing about Grok, counting us as a superpower. Good news. Uh, not really surprising, but good. Of course, Russia is a superpower. Russia is a civilization, by the way. This is much more important. Russia is a self-sufficient civilization, and very few countries can actually say it, isn't it? That it's a civilization. Russia is a Russia play crucial role in history. Russia is a home for dozens and dozens of different ethnic groups. Russia is a home for Orthodox Christians, for Muslims, for Buddhists, by the way, for Jewish people, right? This is traditional religions for Russia. It's a multicultural, multi-ethnic civilization that was built this way, you know? It was built this way. Somehow that's how it happened. And it's natural here. And while elsewhere this might not work, right? Elsewhere, if you try to put different people in same area and try to impose some certain rules and stuff, I mean, this might not work. And Europe is failing, by the way, right? Europe is failing in the multiculturalism, and because they were trying to build something that was maybe not natural, while Russia was built this way by many, many different ethnic groups. While, of course, ethnic Russians are vast majority. 80% of public society is ethnic Russians, right? But minorities also play a key role, by the way, obviously, right? And everyone together are Russians, Russian world. And it works for us, right? It works for Russia. This is happening for centuries, right? This is not something new that happened today. No, this is happening for centuries, right? And this is most important, I think. This is the strength of Russia. Not necessarily those nukes, but this natural multi-ethnicity and multiculturalism, natural one that makes countries stronger, actually, right? When people from different ethnic groups, different cultural, historical background are united in one nation, right? And are proud to be part of this nation, man. It's great stuff, man. That's why I'm saying Russia is a self-sufficient civilization, unique in many ways, absolutely. Dear friends, please like the video, click that like button, and after stream ends, if you are watching this video after stream, please leave some commentary in the comment section. Chat would not operate after the stream, but at least you can leave the comment in comment section, and this might help to deal with the algorithm. Danny DeWall is commenting, you can buy free Russian planes for one F-35. Russia will get their global market. After special military operation, yes, I'm quite sure there will be massive demand on Russian, not just aircraft, but also helicopters, drones, by the way. Russian drones gonna be, in extreme demand, and also ground vehicles, by the way, obviously. But yes, Russian planes are significantly cheaper, not any less capable, but significantly cheaper than F-35, for example, right? If it comes to air-to-air combat, only hope for F-35 is beyond visual range, and even then, only against older generation older fourth generation fighter jets. Modern ones will detect F-35 on the long ranges. I think Russian Su-57 or Su-35s can detect F-35s 100 miles away. I really think so. And therefore, beyond visual range is not going to be plus for F-35. It might be stealth, yes, loosely visible for radars, but it still leaves a trace, heat trace, right? And yet again, it's loosely visible for shortwave radars. For a long-wave radars, its F-35 will be visible in the very same way as a Boeing 747, for example, right? For long-range radars, this stealth technology does not work. It has no meaning, right? Long-range radars nullify stealth stuff completely. And I think Russia is succeeding in miniaturization of this long-range, long-wave radars. And latest F-35s, Su-57s, I think are equipped with radars that can detect stealth planes tens of miles away or tens of kilometers away, and therefore beyond BVR not going to be advantage of their Western planes or American planes. When it comes to dogfight, close dogfight, well, Western planes never really had any chances in dogfight anyways, right? Russian planes can outmaneuver, outfly any Western plane. And, even F-22, I don't think is capable of succeeding in dogfight against even F-35. Nothing to be said about Su-57. And Su-57 will decimate F-22s. Absolutely, man. You have seen what Russian planes doing, isn't it, in air? Like there is no physics for them. F-22 cannot operate that way. And also Stavros Karagiorgis is commenting, the issue is whether Iranian pilots can operate MiG-29s more easily than Su-35s. Well, I guess if these reports, Stavros, are correct, if the speculations on internet that some MiG-29s, it's usually it's MiG-29s that's said, isn't it? But I think there is no point to send MiG-29s, right? Because this is MiG-29s are old, Bob. MiG-29s are old. So because MiG-35s look similar visually, right? They are bigger. MiG-35s actually are bigger. Like it's a MiG-29 on steroids, right? These MiG-35s. But nevertheless, silhouette is similar. So maybe these rumors has been generated when someone in Iran saw MiG-35s that visually, you cannot distinguish from MiG-29 that easily. So if it's MiG-35s, then Yak 130s are exactly their planes, these training combat planes of Russia that was spotted in Iran. Those planes are exactly the ones that you need to learn how to fly modern Russian planes. That is Su-30, Su-35, MiG-35, and Su-34, by the way. I believe training for that can be done on Yak-2, and there maybe even Su-57. And now, by the way, Russia is building Yak 130's modernized version, right? So, because those Yaks were spotted in Iran, I guess that's because either MiG-35s were transferred, potentially, or Su-35s. But in any case, I think it will make more sense for Iran if they will focus on radio electronic warfare and air defense more than on a fighter jets, because they're not gonna outmatch Israel and the US. They just, it's not possible to build such an air force in several years' time. Definitely not in several weeks' time. And we never know when US and Israel will attack Iran again. But air defense systems can be deployed easily. It will take less time. electronic warfare also, right? And that will be, I mean, better way to go, I guess, because Israel has several hundred planes, fourth generation, fifth generation. Uh, US has thousands of planes, but in a region and in immediate vicinity, I mean, US can deploy easily like about 500 planes for fighter jets alone, by the way, right? It's only takes like 2 3 aircraft carriers. That's 200 planes, 250 planes, right? And there is bases all over the Middle East, right? From where US can attack Iran. So US, yes, can deploy 3 to 500 planes, no big deal. Israel has at least 300 fighter jets, I think. So Iran not gonna outmatch them, no way. You know, so better to focus on air defenses, I guess, long range air defense systems, long, medium, and short range. I mean, they need to have this integrated air defense if they want to be successful. And this is Stavros. This is, of course, my just the opinion. I'm not military expert, and I have no freaking idea what is the best way to go to defend itself for Iran or for any other country. I'm just sharing opinion. Yet again, dear friends, especially for new members of community, let me reiterate that I'm no military expert. I'm a journalist. I spent all my life in journalism, right? In Georgia, and I had worked a bit in Russia too. And now I'm a citizen journalist. I'm doing this my project here, and that's it, right? I'm no military expert, so any my opinion about some military stuff should be taken with a pinch of salt or mountain of salt, whatever. But let's keep in mind that I'm not military expert. There are military experts, by the way, that actually study this military stuff. So their opinion, of course, is on whole different level. But let me check. Вот, смотри, доча. На, вот, если обновление так сделать. Если там появится что-то, просто скажи мне. Скриншот сделай, скинь мне. Но я уже завершаю, в принципе. Так что, yes, my daughter tell me, she can take phone and send me screenshot if there is any update on Boosty or True Boosty. So, but it is time to end the live stream. It's 3 hours and 3 hours and 28 minutes at this particular point. Danny DeWall is commenting, Russia has a leader that knows that God has multiple names. He is respected for that. Well, Russia is a country where all the traditional religions are respected very much, and there no one will allow anyone to be disrespectful towards Christians or towards Muslims or towards Buddhists or Jews or Hindus, by the way, or you cannot be disrespectful towards other religions, period, right? In the West, it's a bit different, right? let's say Christianity is absolutely not protected, by the way, whatsoever, and I don't think this is okay, right? Uh, but here in Russia, all religions are protected, and no one is allowed to mess around the religious feelings of the people. So, dear friends, I saw a comment. Levan runs on a mini nuclear plant batteries. No, it's 3 hours and 30 minutes, and I guess, I can end the live stream now. We had a good conversation, isn't it? Also, a comment difference from Danny DeWal. Carriers, aircraft carriers are think of their past against the modern weapons, and I agree with you absolutely, 100%. I also think aircraft carriers are things of the past, especially if a country with aircraft carriers are engaged in a hostility, military hostility against a country that has, means to deal with their, you know, especially if you are going against your pair, right? If you are fighting country with no army, of course, aircraft carriers are formidable force. But if you are engaged in military hostility against a capable opponent, then carriers are doomed, I think. And dear friends, this is it for now. Thank you very much for your attention. Many thanks to all the members of our community who supported during this stream and before, and who will support after. Truly grateful, dear friends, for your support, for your time, assistance. You keep me in this field of news and political commentary, so truly grateful for this opportunity. Have a wonderful day, and see you tomorrow. Take care.